Good afternoon, everyone. It's Monday, August 3rd. This is School Board Workshop, and the time now is 1 o'clock p.m. Sergeant Arms, has the lobby been attended to?
Yes.
Thanks, Chief. There are 9 items on the agenda. The safety update, the construction change order report, the academics update, the communication department update, the district strategic priorities, career and tech opportunities, the fine and performing arts and athletics and JROTC update, public comment, go to the order, and other business, and then adjournment. Per board protocol, each board member should aim to keep their initial comments to 4 minutes and a follow-up comment concise with a total speaking time of no more than 10 minutes per discussion. Additionally, I encourage our colleagues to stay on the topic for each agenda item. The first agenda item on our schedule today is the safety update presented by Chief Dave Newland, Safety and Security and Fleet Operations, and Superintendent and Board, Chief Safety Officer and Security and Fleet Operations. Chief, you're up.
Good afternoon, board members, Superintendent Dr. Denise Carlin and Board Attorney Rob Dodig. This presentation is our annual comparison over the last 3 years with OpenGate and the correlation to law enforcement activity, how it has made an impact since we have OpenGate, has it decreased or increased our law enforcement activity. And what you'll see is here there'll be 3 comparisons. There's going to be your physical arrest. You'll see NTA, which is notice to appear, and what that is really, it's an arrest, but it's a citation given to the person with a mandatory court date. Then you have a civil citation, which are given to juveniles that basically does not go on the record, but there's a statute that talks about civil citations. There's an agreement that you must accept guilt. The parents must agree to it. It's a one-time violation, so it's a way that they give them the juveniles, but again, does not go on the record. So those are the 3 comparisons you'll see over the 3-year period. And again, looking at slide number 3, why do we do this for? We want to make sure that students feel safe when they come into our schools. We want to support the overall goal of our district to be an A school district. And we want to make sure that our students and staff feel safe so when they work and on their education without distractions and to reduce any stress over being in an unsafe environment. So why do we do this? We do this to ensure students are safe and staff are safe. It creates a culture of safety and trust. And also, we've had incidents in the past that has brought the conversation that we want to make sure that nothing is brought into our campus, into our schools, as far as a weapon, anything illegal that should not go into our school property. Because once it's there, that's a safety concern, obviously. So the idea of OpenGate is to prevent it from going onto school campus. Now, if you look at this slide here, this kind of gives you, again, goes back 3 years. As we've had OpenGate in for these 3 years now, we've been able to compile data to kind of give us an idea of what things look like. And you'll see on this chart, you'll see an overall, this is overall including arrests, notice to appears, and civil citations. You'll see Lee County Sheriff's Office, the 3-year comparison to Fort Myers Police Department, Cape Coral, and then your overall total together. So you can see over the 3-year comparison, we have still gone down in our 3rd year we started at 1,213 to 834 total incidents over that 3-year period. And you can see based on each department, each one relatively has been steady or gone down a little bit in the last 3 years. And also, I'll get into it later on in the presentation as far as what are they, what is it showing, what type of violations as well. So Lee County Sheriff's Office, you'll see, again, it shows the arrest over the last 3 years. Again, notice to appears, a little bit of increase this last year, and also civil citations and increase the last year as well. So when I speak to Lee County Sheriff's Office to find out, just kind of get their why things have increased or decreased, kind of get what they have seen work with our school district. They are seeing a much better relationship with our schools and students, and over time that's gotten better and better. They see things are being reported more through Fortify Florida, and really the majority of things that you're seeing really as far as an increase is a drug, marijuana possession, disruption, or maybe nicotine possession. Those are your minor things you're seeing an increase to, as you'll see. So we look at notice to appears and civil citation, those are the increases you're going to see over that 3-year period. For Cape Coral Police Department, It's a really big reduction if you look at the last year as well. Arrests have been pretty steady. Again, those two appears to have dropped down over the last 3 years, and as well as civil citations. Again, I've contacted every single agency to find out from them what are they seeing, how things going as far as relationship with the school district. They have seen a major decline, especially in the second half of the year. They've noticed it really go down this past year. They really feel it's really through their enforcement efforts, and really it's a better relationship working together with the school administration, the students. They're starting to establish that relationship, working with one another, building that trust. And for Fort Myers Police Department, again, as you can tell as well, arrests have declined over the last 3 years. A little bit of an increase in those two appears the last year, and then you see a minor decrease in civil citations. Now, majority of those are really marijuana possession, disruption. And you notice the interesting part is, if you go back to 24-25, when those two appears were less, and now they're higher this year, and the opposite with civil citations. So as I mentioned before, civil citations are usually a one-time violation of the same thing. So it is possible that if I was given a civil citation in 24-25, I can't get that same violation as a civil citation in 25-26. It'll result more in notice to appear. So you see that fluctuation of the increase and decrease on both sides. And then again, looking at overall stats as well, 25-26, you've really seen overall on major complaints a reduction of 31% decrease is overall in the last 3 years. Lee County Sheriff's Office, again, overall in the last 3 years, a decrease of 13%. Fort Myers Police Department, an increase of 6%. Again, I mentioned before, that's more of your minor violations, civil citations, or narcotics violations, or disruption. And then Cape Coral Police Department saw a 67% decrease from 23 to 25. I also want to bring up, too, in this slide, that one of the things that we always look at, we always talk about, are the major events, are threats, that are written threats that come across sometimes that we receive, or maybe weapon violations. So out of curiosity, if I look back at 24-25, for example, we had about 25 overall threats in 24-25 school year. This past school year, we had 14. So there has been a decrease in the major concerns, the high liability threats, things we talk about, things you may see in Fortified Florida. So there has been a decrease in the ones that we want to see go down. Obviously, we want all of them to go down, but again, the increase are the minor violations. And this just breaks down really for you, to give you a better idea. If you look at a Lee County Sheriff's Office in Fort Myers and Cape, it really tells you, when I highlight the red, it shows what year was the lowest based on arrests, civil citations, and notice to appears. And most of them fluctuate. A lot of them are last year have been a reduction. As you can see, with civil citations, some are first year, last year, the middle year, and then also NTAs as well have gone up and down. But again, like I said before, it's based on the type of violation. If you have the same violation twice, it's going to end up going from a civil citation to a notice to appear. So that kind of explains that difference. And I'll stand by for any questions from the board or superintendent.
Dr. Carlin?
Thank you, Mr. Newland. And thank you, Mr. Newland. Appreciate the update on safety. As you know, our number one priority as a school system is safety and security of our campuses, and just appreciate all that you do personally, along with your team, to make sure that our campus are some of the safest in the state of Florida and the nation, especially with the implementation of Open Gate. As you know, that is one of our premier hallmarks as a school district, making sure that no firearm makes it onto the campus. So that's not even in the realm of possibility, and then from there, making sure that we have other safety initiatives in place. So with that, we look forward to your conversation. Thank you.
Okay, board members, any comments? Ms. Shaviano?
Thank you. So thank you for this. All right, cool. So one area, obviously, first slide, I think it's 9, for the Fort Myers Police Department stats, obviously this being the only area where there's an increase, is there a specific school or location where we're seeing this increase, or is it kind of just spread across the board?
There's been a minor increase. Usually the high schools has a small increase compared to the middle schools. But when I talked to the Fort Myers Police Department about it, again, they felt the cooperation is better, so they're getting more information being given to them. I think to catch the violations, so that's a good thing. Well, they are seeing more of those increases minor, but again, the minor complaints were more in the high schools.
But again, for that, is there a specific where it's happening more at that we know, or it's just spread evenly across the
More
board?
the high school. More the high school, more like Dunbar High, for example.
That's what I'm saying, like a specific school is where I'm targeting. Okay.
But they are, like I said before, they do feel better because they are getting more people talking to them, sharing information with them, which
Yeah.
is what we want as well.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Giovanelli?
Thank you. So I'll piggyback off of what Ms. Joviano's just mentioned. So are we putting any extra support there to address those increases at all? Or, you know?
Just from talking to Fort Myers Police Department, I mean, we've talked about it, again, they like, I don't say they don't want the increase, but they like where it's going. Like I said, with having the cooperation and the better communication and working with the school administration and the students, I think what they're hoping is by showing that they're catching these offenses, this year will be interesting to see is it going to show a decrease. Because now that they know that they are catching these things, it may prevent students from trying to bring it onto campus. So we're having those conversations, but I think as this year goes forward, we'll see how it goes as it goes forward. But right now, they feel very comfortable that, you know, having that cooperation is just showing the difference.
Thank you. And I mean, 6% is quite a bit when you're only talking about 2 high schools in the city. I mean, you know, in the Fort Myers city limits. That's the only 2 that Fort Myers PD does, right?
Those are the only 2 high schools, yes.
Right.
Yes.
And then what made you just compare from 2023 to 2026? I was just curious about that span. What made you?
Because it was interesting because, again, this is always a question. When we first introduced OpenGate in 2023, I really didn't know what it was going to show and would it make a difference or not. And we didn't know that. So I think it was interesting to see, well, here's where we started at and just kind of see here's where we're at now. Has it gotten worse or gotten better? So I'm happy to see that these are declining. I'm sure some of it does contribute to OpenGate, but I think also, as you heard, just having those better relationships, working together, does make a difference.
Yeah, and thank you for that. I know when Parkland happened, that was one of the things that actually Mike Scott actually spoke about at the time, like deterrent and was recommending metal detectors. And that was way before anyone had metal detectors. And I distinctly remember him having that conversation with us at, I don't know, at some briefing or something. It wasn't a school thing, it was something separate, but that was one of his recommendations. And so just thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Jordan?
My question is regarding the Fort Myers Police Department. You spoke about the civil citations, so the decrease would have increased the notice to appear, but we're looking at 2 children, two on the civil, and then increase of 28 for the notice to appear, so it doesn't.
So if you see like 1 year, you'll see, for example, let me go back.
That's slide 8.
So you'll see like in the first year, so look at Fort Myers Police Department, notice to appears. They had notice to appears were decreased in 24-25, but increased in 25-26. Now civil citations only went down a little bit, but again, some of those could be repeat offenders, like I said. So even though you have an increase in notice to appears in 25-26, could be because if they were issued a civil citation the prior year, they can't have the same thing given to them again on the same offense. So the fact that you're getting more information, maybe you're catching more students, but also you have repeat students that are doing the same thing. They can't get a civil citation twice for the same offense. So there's two different things to look at with that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments from board members? Ms. Persons?
Well, you must be doing something right because the parents aren't telling me that safety, believe it or not, is not their number one concern. It's all ours number one concern.
Right.
But everything's going so smoothly, I'm getting comments like, why are you spending so much money on safety? We can never spend enough money on safety. So it is really good that that's happening. Also, to me, even if all these numbers were awful, the fact that we stopped 2 weapons from getting into the school since we started this makes it totally worthwhile.
Absolutely.
You know, and I just wanted to bring that up because these are all little offenses, but those were two major things that could have resulted in something very tragic happening. So I think it's a great thing to have the.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, Ms. Lai?
That's a great point, Mr. Persons. The other thing I wanted to just state that I'm not sure if there's a way you can track this or not, but while Open Gate has obviously been effective, I mean, so it appears, I would imagine that our bell-to-bell, no cell phone policy would be a part of this as well, because I know a lot of altercations can begin with student communication, and then it escalates. So I just wanted to point that out. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Shaviani, you got a follow-up?
Yeah, I just, for one thing, for Fort Myers PD, because I know we mentioned just one school, but there's at least like 4 that fall under Fort Myers PD.
Yeah, they have the 2 high schools, they have their middle schools, and yeah, some elementary as well. But when I look at, they gave me the numbers every month, so you know, I get data from every department every month. They break it down per school site and type of violation, so I track that throughout the whole year. And then sometimes when I see something again that I have a question about, then we talk about that, just kind of figure out, like I have questions too sometimes, like what's happening, please explain to me what's going on, you know, any issues. So we maintain communication throughout the year to talk about any trends that they may see as well.
Okay, Ms. Jordan?
So can I ask a question regarding the, some of the schools who have the higher numbers, because you know what schools those are, have any of the safety and security people been eliminated in those schools? We don't have extra SROs, but have any of those positions been removed?
I don't know the information, the answer to that question, so I have to research and get back to you.
Thank you.
I'm not sure, but I'll find out.
That would be good to know,
Thank you.
because that could help. Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, if I may, through the chair, I think something that's very important to underscore is what Mr. Newland shared, and that is we want children and staff members reporting when they see unsafe situations. And while we see an increase in the Fort Myers Police Department statistics, you know, there could be a whole host of reasons for that. If I want student discipline referrals to go down, there's an easy way to do that. Just not report them. That's not what we want in the school district. We want everybody, if they see something, to say something. So I'm really heartened. This is a school district that doesn't hide behind numbers. We'll show you right up front, decreases and increases, and we're happy to do that. What I would caution our team, our governance team, to do is to draw any hard and fast conclusions from that. When you have an increase in children reporting or staff members reporting, that's what we want. So we don't ever want to send a message like those numbers need to go down because people can make them go down. So we want to bring those things forward. I can assure you Chief Newland is about as good as it gets when it comes to safety and security. If he feels like there is something going on at a school, he is the first one on it and the first one on the phone with me saying these are some things we need to put into place. And then I would also share that safety is everybody's responsibility, from our school resource officers to every one of our staff members. When I was a principal in our school district for 18 years, I used to say, you know, yes, we have a school resource officer and that's fantastic. Everybody is responsible, including the children, for the safety of this school. And the school resource officer can be in a certain place at a certain time, which is fantastic. But all of us, children, families, staff members, the principal, assistant principal, everybody is responsible for safety in the school district. And when we report the things that we see that are unsafe, that's doing the right thing. So I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Jim,
And I think that's a good point. And that's why I mentioned the 2 high schools, because you said that's where the increase was. Rather middle schools. Middle school students have a tendency to say something more than high schoolers. High schoolers, they say that's, you know, then you become a narc. So I think that's part of that culture of high school culture, that where they might not say something. But we know middle schoolers probably say more. Because we've had that experience just with incidents that we've had in schools. I know the middle school was the first to, the girls were first to tell about somebody with a gun, and it happened to be a water gun. But I mean, they're first to speak up. That's why I think and it changes when they get in high school. So,
And I want to add something else too, I left out that I think it's important. With the police departments too, they have an expectation as well with their employees. And when they're assigned to a school as a school resource officer, there's expectations, they need to be doing their job, based on their policies as well. So I've had these conversations in the past where they may have identified an SRO that's maybe not doing what they should be doing, maybe not as active. So they will pull that person out and put another person in there that's going to do what the expectation based on their own policy as well. So this also could be contributed to a decline or increase based on change in the school resource officer as well at that school.
Okay, any other comments from board members? All right, Chief, thank you very much for a great presentation. I just want to make one quick comment about our SROs. We don't talk enough about them and give them enough credit, but in all the visits I do, I always make sure I interact with the SROs, and I'm still continually impressed with how well they know each and every student, and in most cases, they know the parents, because they're out there when the parents are dropping their children off in the cars and they're making a contact with them, which I think is outstanding. So great job working with the various police departments here in the county, and I appreciate your comments here today. Next, we have the construction change order report for June 2026, presented by Scott Rickenbacker and Melissa Rivera.
Good afternoon, board members. There we go. Good afternoon, board members. Superintendent Carlin, Esquire Dodig, Scott Rickenbacker, and Melissa Rivera here to do the change order report for June of 2026 as required by statute. 3 reportings, direct material purchases. We did $1.7 million of direct material purchases with a return of tax savings to the district in this reporting period of $95,965.93. Pure change orders, we had $1.6 million in change orders with a return of unused funds for projects as we're going through closeout of $1,636,226.70. The backup sheet that supports the tally sheet on the front. The predominance of the direct material purchases obviously are the new Alva High School. We're buying out the project. You have 5 change orders, 4 of which are returns of unused funds, predominantly for the VPAA, Lamille Teal, and the Black Box Theater project, which has gone on for several years. And we have 1 substantial completion, $0 substantial completion increase to July 14th of 2026 for Cape Tech. Contingency adjustments, we spent $156,485.29 on contingency. 1 would be the new Alva High School. There was a design change for an academy, and it went to child care, and the supporting contingency within the project was to support the allowance that was given in the original GMP. The contingency was supporting $99,000 to get that to the dollar value to do the install. We also had Bayshore K8, $33,000. The original ceramic tile was no longer manufactured and go to the next manufacturer of tile. It was an increase in that GMP of $33,000, again, which was already in the contingency and in the total project cost of that job. Lastly, elementary East Zone, Green Meadows Elementary. In that school, we provided a sunshade, which wasn't in the original design, and we re-milled and paved what was the old basketball courts behind Lehigh Senior High School so that it would be a playground area, and we added the fence and so forth and used contingency on the project for that. And that's our reporting. Any questions?
Okay, Superintendent, any comments?
No, sir.
Ms. Fisher?
Thank you, Mr. Ribble. Mr. Rickenbacker, I'm going to ask you again this meeting, are we still within budget of the board-approved budget for Alva High School?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Giovanelli?
and I just got to congratulate you. We had the ceremony for the Cape Coral Technical College, and we were all there. And it was your idea, I heard, that the out-of-box thinking regarding moving the schools from, and I just wanted to congratulate you for that, because I know on Wednesday we'll all be in attendance for the Hector Caffaretta, but just because they had all those plans, and it was just a perfect timing. It was a perfect storm that became a perfect timing to put the schools the way they wound up being at this point, and that was your idea. And I just want to give you kudos and congratulations for that, because that is really the out-of-box thinking that we needed. That it was great. I can't imagine. Now, I wanted to ask you on that extra steel that we have. Is there any way, somebody mentioned this at the Cape Coral Tech, if the welding students could use some of that steel. I'd rather see that it go to an educational purpose, be repurposed for that. Somebody mentioned it, it might have been Ms. Jordan, I don't know, somebody did, and we kind of chuckled, but I mean, I'm like, hey, that's really a brilliant idea, because rather than selling it and trying to do whatever with it, why can't our kids use it as an educational purpose? And I'll just leave it at that. You don't have to answer that, but you have that out-of-box thinking, so I'm just thinking maybe you can make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments from board members? Okay, I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow at Bonita Springs Elementary School at 10 o'clock, and I'm sure we'll have a ton of parents there. The community's really excited about this opening of that part of the school, so great job in Bonita, my friend.
Great.
Thank you very much. Great presentation.
Thank you. Have a great afternoon, and congratulations on another year of opening schools up.
Okay, next we have the academic update, the principal highlights for Lee and 3, presented by Dr. Nathan Shaker, Colleen Tim, Angela Nader, Chuck Velarde, Cheryl Neely, and Cherise Trent. Oh, we got some more freebies here.
Tchotchkes. This might be ready, set, go.
Are these safe flags?
I should have brought my bell.
Yeah.
Safe flag.
Thank you.
I want to make sure they're approved, so I don't get in trouble.
Thank you. Wish I could tape it on my computer.
Good afternoon, Board, Superintendent, Attorney Dodick. Thank you guys for having us here today. We're going to be giving you our first of monthly academic updates. So our goal this year is at each board meeting to give us just a 20-minute sampler of some of the new and creative initiatives that are taking place as a combined effort between academic services, school performance, and all of the academic school support departments that work together. So we are here to share some the exciting parts of Lean 3. And so I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues to continue.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. We're very excited to share with you our Lean 3. And we're going to begin by just talking about the strategic vision and the core commitments that we have regarding this. So first of all, we obviously want every student to experience rigorous grade level instruction. That is part of our core vision. We want them to learn, we want them to maximize their achievement every single day. And so we're like, what kind of framework can we come up with to make sure that we have a clear vision here at our central office level, but then that it filters down to schools and that we all align, not just even to the administrative level, but down to the classroom, down to the student. And that is the goal of Lean 3. That's one of the things that we are trying to accomplish. And so with that, why professional learning communities? Professional learning communities is one of the first areas of Lean 3. So you have a chart in front of you, and we're going to go over that in just a minute, but I just want to tell you a little bit about the why. So first of all is professional learning communities, and when those function, those are our groups of teachers meeting together to discuss student data, progress monitoring, that type of thing. If it's done with fidelity, instructional decisions become very intentional. I'm sorry, do you need me? Oh, okay. Instructional decisions become intentional, and rather than being reactive, we can be proactive regarding student achievement and have greater consistency across classrooms. Why instruction? Why would we come up with having instruction be a part of one of the Lee and 3? Well, the greatest influence we know on student learning is going to be instruction, and it's the quality of that daily instruction that matters. So by strengthening our Tier 1 instruction and having a certified teacher in every classroom and really maximizing that instructional time, we can reduce the learning gaps and we can provide intervention for students and meet their specific needs. So instruction becomes a priority. And then the third is accountability. Accountability ensures that all of the strategies that we are implementing lead to measurable results. We have to be able to measure what we're doing. So it gives us an opportunity then to celebrate success, to address challenges very, very quickly, and to make strategic adjustments and keep students at the center of every decision. So when you look at your Lee and 3 card, the first side, if you look at the side that has focus area, purpose, tools to support implementation, and look-fors. Actually, I'm going to have you flip over to the other side. I apologize. So every student experiences grade-level rigorous instruction and targeted support, and this is what it looks like. This is what the framework looks like. So you'll see the focus area, which the 3 that we just talked about, the purpose for each one of those, the key practices, and then what the leader moves look like. That's our administration. What are they going to be doing? How are they going to be measuring? What does instruction look like? What are they checking for? And then the evidence and the standards. So what evidence do we have? How are we going to be tracking that this is working? And then what it aligns to in terms of our leadership expectations. So these 3 commitments work together really as a continuous improvement cycle. They create a system where every decision is focusing on improving student achievement for every student in every school. Now, if you flip the card over, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Shaker to talk about how this aligns with academic services. But before I do, I just want to share why you have a flag, a racing flag. And our goal this year is racing to results. And that's going to be our theme throughout the year. And so we wanted to share that with you just so that you know that the Lee and 3 is going to help us get to that. Following this framework and format is going to get us to the results that we're looking for this upcoming school year. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Shaker.
Excellent. Our school leaders are really our first instructional leaders, and they are the champions of success and the champions of PLC's instruction and accountability at our schools. The information on the back is really just a guide for our school leaders about what resources there are at the district level to help support the good work that they do. You can see there's tools for supporting implementation as well as look-fors for monitoring implementation. These being the foundation of both school leadership and district leadership, they will start to drive our principal meetings on a monthly basis.
And so our first area of focus is really strengthening our professional learning communities. PLCs are the foundation of how we improve teaching and learning. Excuse me, I went ahead one slide too much. There we go, I apologize. So of our professional learning communities, there are 3 main components. The number 1 component is teacher collaboration. So collaborative sessions have a very specific purpose. Teachers meet weekly to review data, benchmarks, develop common assessments, and share effective instructional strategies. Then component number 2 is our master schedule. So when schools create their master schedule, they have to be intentional and set aside specific times weekly for teachers to collaborate and for students to have additional time for intervention. And then lastly, data-driven plans. Teachers use student work and assessment data when creating those intervention plans. So what does that look like in the school and in the classroom? So in the classroom, it would look like instruction being consistent across classrooms within the same grade level or subject. And then within the school, you do have a little picture there, but that's a live in action PLC. Teachers' teams meet weekly at a dedicated time within that master schedule. During this time, student data and student work is reviewed, and this ensures high expectations and a sense of urgency that is evident throughout the school.
Next comes high-quality instruction. In every classroom, you will find learning targets that are strategically placed on common boards in all of our classrooms across the district. The teacher reviews these targets with students and clearly defines the vocabulary in the targets so that the students understand what is expected during their learning of that specific benchmark. The clearly defined vocabulary should be used by the students during the discussion of the written work. Rigorous tasks are another part of high-quality instruction. Teachers must plan carefully for the rigor of their learning, targets, and their benchmarks. Utilizing rigor as a part of every lesson helps our students reach higher levels of achievement and often leads them to being proficient. This also challenges our higher-level learners to dig deeper into their learning, therefore maintaining their higher scores on state testing. Meaningful preparation. Preparing for lessons is no longer done in isolation alone. It is done as a PLC team using the strengths of each member of that team. Together, they must map out higher level questioning. PLC teams review the curriculum and plan for instruction using the data of their students. They must think about the following. How will we instruct our students? How will they know if they understand the benchmark? And what do we do if they don't get it? And how do we enrich our higher level learners? This is a constant cycle. High-quality instruction, classrooms should feel alive to prepare our students for the workforce of today. Gone are the days of students sitting in rows and working independently. Students must work collaboratively, which helps them to engage in their learning. Teachers plan these activities carefully so that every student in the group is giving input and working on the work. There are many structures that help with this, like Thinking Maps, Kagan, and Thinking Classrooms, to name a few. As you know, teachers have many levels of students in their classroom. It is important that teachers plan to meet the needs of all of their students, and they do this while teaching to the rigor of the benchmark and filling in the gaps of students during intervention. Next part in the school-wide behavior expectations are a must for learning to occur at the highest of levels. It is evident when you walk into a high-performing school because students know the expectations and often help create the vision and mission of their learning in the classroom. Teachers also know the expectations and hold the students accountable for their behavior and their learning. More time for learning is a common thread among educators, but the high-performing educators all have one thing in common. Learning begins the moment any student enters the classroom and doesn't end until the last bell of the day. High-performing teachers are teaching while students transition from subject to subject. They continue teaching as students line up, and you can often find them teaching while walking the halls.
And our last component is accountability and continuous improvement. We often hear accountability and think school grades, which is really what most of us think. It's the end of the year, one time a year, we look back and go, did we hit what we thought we were supposed to hit? But the second part of that is the continuous improvement part of that, which is really the progress monitoring that needs to take place strategically throughout the year in order to make sure we're going to meet that end-of-year target that we expect to meet, which in our case is that 70% in order to be an A district, right? And so when you think about it, our administrators and us as regional associate superintendents are going to look at things from three perspectives. One, the instruction. Inside the classroom, if we don't monitor the instruction that's been planned for by the teacher, we won't know if our teachers are meeting those benchmarks for each one of our students and whether we have met those marks. So it's going to be incumbent upon us not just to be visible in the classrooms, but really to provide feedback that's going to help the teachers continue to grow and improve moving forward. The second component of that, which is the quarterly data chats, that's a secondary part where the school administration along with the regionals can really see holistically as a school, are they meeting those marks with each one of those grade level teams or PLCs inside the school? So there's accountability on each one of those PLCs to monitor data for their own little grade level, but as a school systematically, we want to quarterly monitor that to make sure we're seeing those same improvements in each one of those specific areas and making sure that we are reaching the needs of all of our students. And then that usually occurs through several mechanisms. One is monitoring attendance. The second one is monitoring just grades in general. And then the third thing is really monitoring those summative and formative assessments, whether it's Progress Monitoring 1, the state assessment, or whether it's our local assessments that we provide to our students on a quarterly basis to see, are they meeting the rigors of what's expected by the state on each one of those levels. So whether the state provides it or whether we provide it, we're being strategic about making sure that quarterly we are looking at those items. So for you all, what does that look like in the classroom when you as board members go and walk and visit, or we as administrators, or the superintendent as she goes around and visits? You're looking for making sure that the administrators are regularly visible and participating inside those collaborative teams. So not just visible during the classroom instruction, but really when that planning is taking place and making sure that there's collaboration among all of the staff. And when there's not, providing feedback on a holistic team perspective in order to move and grow the team, and not just one teacher at a time, but really team by team. And then lastly is really continuing to focus on our the fantastic tools that our business intelligence department has provided, but looking at those dashboards and monitoring on a regular basis how the students are doing on those individual assessments, those unit assessments, all the way down to the unit assessments. And so that's going to be a continued tracking mechanism for our schools to continue to grow. So in the end, we want this LEAN 3 to become a systematic, coherent system for our schools. Done in isolation, you have individual teachers in isolation planning. By having professional learning communities, that allows collaboration, it allows consistency in the classrooms, and the accountability piece of it allows for them to monitor strategically throughout the year to make sure that we're going to meet and reach the targets desired for every student. And then our expected outcome from a regional perspective is that when schools are underperforming as far as their collaborative teams are concerned, that we are reducing those to 0 and having 0 teams that are underperforming. That is our goal through this work, is to continue to build and grow so we have a system in which the impact of our collaborative teams is meeting and reaching every student that's required.
And really, our last bit of information is just an invitation to you all as board members. When you visit schools, we want to give you a little cheat sheet of some questions that you could ask the principals as well as the assistant principals. I won't read it to you, but I will reinforce the message that our focus this year is really about doing 3 things incredibly well, 3 things to a point of excellence. We become stronger by becoming experts in specific targeted areas. We grow, we enhance our skills, and then we move on to the next set. So thank you all. We appreciate it. We welcome any questions from the board or from the superintendent.
Dr. Carlin?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. First of all, thank you. Huge appreciation to the team. When you listen to the work that they are doing in partnership with the schools, it's really pretty remarkable. So just thank you very much for a great school year. And now we look at LEAN 3 and we're ready to roll. And I do love the fact that you gave the board members some look-fors as they walk around to schools. I know that we have all toured schools together, and so now we have a game plan for doing that. I do want to draw attention to a couple of things. Number one, our goal this year is no D or F schools, 0. Our additional goal is no C schools, 0. We have 30. You might think, my gosh, that's an ambitious goal. She's not saying reduce the C schools, she's saying eliminate them. There were some people that said we couldn't eliminate 575 teacher vacancies. I love when there's a challenge thrown in front of me. And our team loves it too. And so we're going to go at it. LEAN 3 is the secret sauce behind how we got rid of our D and F schools. And it's a very simple recipe. Plan effectively. Inspect what you planned. Did it happen? Great. Did it not? Let's redo it. Let's go back at it. And then let's look at how the children did. It's a very simple recipe. It's difficult to do, but it can be done. And that's what we're committed to doing this year on behalf of all students learning. So thank you very much for the presentation. We look forward to your comments and your questions.
Ms. Fleming?
Thank you. this is great because we are finally utilizing PLC time for our teachers for what it was intended to be and not a, I mean, I've been around a really long time and PLCs weren't always effective. And I think some of you in the room that have been educators for a long time would kind of know what I'm talking about, so I won't go further. But so the fact that we're utilizing those and we're putting like a plan with a purpose, obviously it's paying off because look at the way our school year ended. We're not where we want to be, but we're certainly making progress. And that's very positive. I love at the bottom of this, it says, these are the non-negotiables we commit to in service of high expectations for every learner. And when you have non-negotiables, it means we're not taking that off. That's not an option for us. So I appreciate that. I want to also say at some point, you know, when I go to visit schools, I'm always able to go see a PLC if it's happening. And I really want to thank the principals when they allow me to take, you know, to take a peek in that room and how that's all going, because that is kind of where the rubber meets the road. It's like, you know, where the meat and potatoes like happen and the conversations are happening along collaborative grade level, you know, collaboration through grade levels. And I think that's really healthy for our teams at every single level. The one thing I would say is, you know, PLCs used to be, just had such a negative light because there's nothing that will frustrate a teacher more than the gift of time being taken away from them. We're trying to, you know, we put all these measurements and these goals in place in front of a teacher, and then we throw all these distractions, not now, not currently, it's not what I'm saying, but at one point in time, you know, there was just so many distractions, and all they really want to do is get in front of their students and get the job done to get the kids across the finish line, because they really want to make their administrators proud, and they want to be able to make sure that their students are, you know, prepared for the next grade, whatever that looks like. So I would just say, like, you know, if to continue to think of like the gift of time for not just the child, but also for the teacher to be able to get to where they need to get these kids. And then lastly, I have to say, I was able to go to a couple of summer school sites. Thank you to those educators. I don't think I was able to say that in the last meeting because you gave up a little bit of your summer for these kids, and there was purpose behind summer school. It was probably some of the most unique, and we talk about out of the box thinking. I mean, there were board games that were teaching, you know, how to think critically and how to, you know, and to get our readers where they need to be. I'd love to see what the data is and how much improvement, and see, you know, were we able to get those kids back on track through the summer months? That's something we could share at some point. Great. But I want to say thank you to the educators that gave up that time, and then thank you to the families for getting your kids there, because I think it really made a difference. And then lastly, CEUs. Our teachers are always needing to get their CEUs for their continuing ed and making sure that certificates are up to date and things like that. I don't know if we already offer something like this at the district level, because that's been a long time since I've done like a Blackboard class. Even though I did get my teacher certificate renewed this year because I finished all of my all of my continuing ed, so I can teach for another 6 years if I want. But anyway, I would love to see some courses that kind of that align with the PLC piece for our new teachers, new to education. Maybe they were career changers or new to just, you know, fresh out of college. So maybe some classes on what to expect at a PLC. What does that mean? How do you use that data? And then how do you apply it? So I think that would be great for our new teachers and maybe get some certification points. But otherwise, I just think this is great, and we're definitely headed in the right direction. Thank you.
Board member, Ms. Shavat? Ms. Fisher?
Do you want me to give it to me? Thanks.
The tag team.
So thank you. So I always go back to like when we mention our dashboards, because I personally love the data piece. Understanding that we have like our quarterly check-ins and all of that piece, I'm guessing that's where you guys are going to come in with all your skills for regionals. But with the goal of obviously no Ds and Fs, getting rid of our Cs, do we have benchmarks or KPIs in place for those schools coming into the school year, understanding who those kids are coming into those grades and where we want them to be by this quarter, we should be here, and if we're not pacing, we're gonna come back and have this conversation. Like, what does that look like in terms of metrics and performance?
So each year we put out what are called goals, and so we identify with what state averages are for the population of students that each school has, but then on top of that, adding in a line that says in order for us to meet the metric of being a B or an A or whatever the metric is for the individual school, there's a separate line that goes, this is how far you've got to get in order to reach that particular goal. It has every student inside there, what their prior year's assessment scores were. It allows them to dive deep into not just the overall for school, but each teacher gets that individually and can see that perspective.
And then one more. So I know there's a little bit of a lag as far as like our testing data and kind of getting that pulled in. How does that work with our dashboards and kind of that monitoring and staying ahead of those benchmarks?
So if you're talking about like from Progress Monitoring 1 from the state, yeah, there's not much of a lag. They have a process in which as it's coming in, it will begin to feed in, and it may take a week or so at the very beginning when the window opens, but once they've began to get the data rolling in, it feeds overnight and allows that data to come in, and by the end of the window, all of the data's in for them.
Ms. Shaviano, if I may just jump in to add to what our team is saying. So the power in the team planning and the PLCs is really looking at it from a weekly perspective. So when we talk with Mrs. Stedman, for example, she's our transformation director, her work is really directly, certainly the principals are involved, but her work is directly with the teachers and the PLCs, where they make sure that they have their assessment aligned with what is the benchmark or two. And then they're looking on a weekly basis, how did the children do on those series of benchmarks? Could be 1, it could be 3. And if they learned, great, we move on. If they didn't learn, we still move on, but we go back and we fill in that hole during intervention time. So we really do not want to wait until the progress monitoring data. That's certainly great data for us to see, but it's really the power is in each and every single week as we're assessing benchmarks. How did the children do? And then we make a plan based on how they did or did not perform. So, having numerous conversations with her, you don't want to wait until those 3 times a year. You want to be doing, curriculum and instruction and assessment is an ongoing cycle. It informs instruction, so it's really important that they're doing it frequently. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Fisher, you have a comment?
Thank you, sir. First of all, thank you for the presentation. I appreciate all that you're doing, and this is exciting moving forward. So can we go to slide number 5, please? And this will kind of go back to a question from a couple of months ago I actually asked you, Dr. Shaker. So where it says, in the classroom, instruction is consistent across classrooms in the same grade level or subject. Absolutely fantastic. I think that's great. Can you address, I've gotten some feedback from some teachers and educators, how they still have autonomy, though, because that still comes up from time to time, and, obviously teaching the standards and the benchmarks, but how does that still allow them autonomy?
So I'll actually give you a personal scenario. So probably the most productive PLC I ever got to be part of was the first year that I taught 6th grade ELA. And my principal said, Nathan, you need to go in there and do exactly what Diane's doing, and I need you to go in there and do exactly what Pat's doing. And that was her direction to me. That was how I learned PLC. Now, very quickly, as I started to plan with them on a weekly basis, we used to analyze fluency rates through a book that we would give to the kids. I discovered that I was a little bit more dynamic as far as using technology. I enjoyed using technology more. So on a week-to-week basis, as we were reading stories, I started creating PowerPoints. Back then it was PowerPoints, now it's slides. And I started leading off with those. I really liked the pre-reading of stories. And so that was not something that Pat and Diane were going to do, but that was something that I was going to do in my instruction. And it was important to it. Now, with even something like that, we read the same stories every week. We gave the same quizzes at the end of every week. And we had the same supplemental data that we shared. And what that enabled us to do was get together, it was every Wednesday morning, and really talk about how are they doing on fluency, how did they do with comprehension of that story, and and that data would drive the next week's instruction. So I think if we have those key points every week that we know we're going to talk about, and we have some of those key curricular items that we know we're going to use every week, from in there, there's plenty of opportunities to have variation.
Thank you for addressing that. Just one further comment, Mr. Ribble. So I definitely appreciate this. I appreciate especially the focus we talked about of small group instruction. I know all of us had the opportunity to go with Superintendent Carlin around schools last year and really look at that, and there were some fantastic classrooms. We were able to visit and see that in action with the other kids going around. And the other thing that I think it lends in is, besides getting rid of cell phones last year, now reduction, not elimination, but of some of the Chromebook technology in elementary schools, and seeing the pen to paper and working with their fellow peers. So I want to give you a shout on that. Thank you.
Okay, comment?
Thank you. It is a great presentation, and I just had a question. I know we have some schools that do PLCs like fantastic. I mean, I think the grades showed that, right? So are we having a collaboration with those leaders there, sharing that with other schools that maybe struggle in that?
Yes, in fact, we have identified some of those higher performing PLCs, and we're forming groups within our levels to make sure that those schools, not only the teachers, but even the principals, have an opportunity to see what a high quality PLC looks like. In addition, our principals and assistant principals will have 3 days of PLC training as well. It was more of a reset. So we had 1 day before school starts, and then there'll be 2 additional days coming up in September, so that we really can rewind and start over and have a fresh start. But we definitely have identified those who are performing above, and our plan is to get those administrators and teachers in to observe.
Thank you, because I think sharing the wealth of information is what is really key, and that when somebody sees that and understands it, I think they're like, oh, okay, we can do this, versus like, how did they get there, and trying to struggle through not having the support and understanding of what to do to get there. So through the chair to the superintendent, and actually about you guys, I am asking if I could shadow one of my, when I know y'all have a busy day, I see that when I go to schools. So if I could shadow one of you one day, and y'all would pick the day, of course, and go to see what you do, because I think, for me, I know it will enlighten me more. It enlightened me just being with the superintendent, but you're the professionals, and I just like to see that in action, if you don't mind.
We'd be happy to make that happen,
Thank you.
absolutely. We'll include Ms. Stedman in that too, so you can see some of the work as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Persons?
When I first got on the board, my visits to the school were visits. How you doing? How's everything? Anything I can do to help you? Because I did not have the depth and knowledge I needed to ask this. In addition to that, we were not monitoring this anywhere near what we are now. So I want to give first off a shout out to the superintendent. You go to about 10 schools with her, listening to her ask every question to these principals, and goes into the classrooms. Now I feel very knowledgeable. I still enjoy going with her though, versus by myself. The other thing is the expectations that the superintendent put out there of no Cs. I was at a school this morning, and that's the first thing. They were a C last year, and that's the first thing the principal told all those teachers. We're not going to be the only C in Lee County. And that was the expectation put right out there, and excited them that we can do it. They weren't very far from a B. They were right up there, so I'm sure they're going to make it. But the encouragement among the teachers, and it started at the very top, and it works all the way down through y'all, and then all the way down to the principals, and then to the teachers, to me is just exciting. I hope that just continues and continues forever. That's all.
Okay, Ms. Jordan?
Thank you. Thank you for this presentation. I love the fact of collaboration. I think that's fabulous. I love the community part of that. My only worry is because of the fact that we have streamlined our school so much, and I guess it goes with the timing, as Ms. Fleming had said, making sure that the teachers have time to do this collaboration, and who's covering those classes, or where are those children when they're collaborating? That was one of my questions.
Sure, so the time that they have their professional learning communities are when the students are at specials. So it's very strategic and it's planned, it's every day. Let's say, Wednesdays for third grade, they meet every day during specials. It's a non-negotiable. There's an agenda created. Different teachers have different roles to participate in the PLC. It might be note-taking, it might be setting the agenda. So that time is protected, and it's a non-negotiable to cancel. And that's where really the principal comes in to support that expectation.
No, great, and we did see a lot of that when we were visiting schools, so I really appreciated seeing that too, and I would love to be a shadow as well, love that. And then, what was my other thing? I'm so sorry. I know what it was, the grading, so we're telling everybody we do not know C's at all. However, we know that the grading system has changed, so now it's going to be twice as difficult or twice as rigorous for them to get to those numbers this year because of the grading. So we have all of that is encompassed in this program, I'm assuming.
So the challenge by Dr. Carlin, I thought that was a wonderful way that you put it, of having no C schools, does take into consideration the escalator clause, which is what you're referencing. As schools schools throughout the state increase their performance, the bottom level of moving up increases as well. I think our schools are up for the challenge, and it's probably a whole other presentation to kind of explain the consequences of the escalator clause or how that's going to affect us. But I think we're within striking distance. We saw a lot of opportunities this year where traditional C schools had a couple key adjustments and they pop really quickly. We have a plan and we have a strategy, and I think we have a system. So I think we've learned a lot this year about how to make it happen.
Perfect, thank you.
And I would just add to that many of our schools took a big jump this year. And so the beauty of that is now they have set the stage for going into this next year to be able to meet those expectations. So the work that was done this year is preparing us for going in, or this past year is preparing us for going into this year. So our principals and our teachers are going to be up to the challenge, and they can do it. So we're just believing that with this structure that we have in place, and each of these three parts of the Lee and 3, I think, play a big role in making that happen, because we have to focus on the PLCs, we have to make time for it, but then also give teachers the time to implement that work. We have to focus on the quality of the instruction, and then the accountability piece is huge, and having that from here all the way down to the classroom, so.
And if I can add to that, thank you very much. It really starts with the premise, Ms. Jordan, that all children can learn. That's really where we start. And if we really believe as a school district that each and every child can learn, then it goes back to that piece I shared before. Here's the benchmark. Here's how we're teaching it. Let's assess and see how they did. And then if they don't learn, we don't just say, well, we move on. Sorry, taught it, hope you caught it. That's not what we do anymore in this school district. It's about learning. We can teach all day long, but it's about the learning piece. And that's our premise. All children can learn. That's where we start from.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments from board members? Okay, I'll just wrap it up then. Here's another piece of, we're the pursuit of excellence, of course, and you folks have done an outstanding job putting this mapping of accountability process in place. I'm really impressed with it. I think Ms. Neely really hit the nail on the head when she talked about the constant monitoring, because that's really how it works. And I'm so impressed, as Mr. Person says, when you go to a school now, there's really a process in place of how do we get there. I mean, these are the steps to making it happen. And Ms. Giovanelli, when you do the shadow, bring your sneakers, because these folks go 1,000 miles an hour. So you're going to get a workout, I can tell you. I've witnessed some of it myself. And of course, Ms. Fleming really hit another nail on the head with data analysis. I'm so impressed when I go into these data rooms and see the achievement and how you measure it and what the follow-up is with each and every student to make it happen. And I really find the principals are really proud of that process. They really have owned it, they believe in it, and they're making it happen. So my hat's off to you folks as regional coordinators in helping these principals be successful. That's how it happens. So thank you very much. Okay, next we have the Communication Department update presented by Chrissy Houlihan, Rob Spiker, and Riley Kempton.
So good afternoon, board members, Dr. Carlin, chairpersons. My name is Rob Spicker. I'm the director for the Communications, Marketing, and Public Relations Department. It's our pleasure to be here with you today. Maybe now you can hear me a little better. There we go. So it's our pleasure to be here today. With me, I have Chrissy Houlihan, our Deputy Chief for Communications and Government Relations, and Riley Kempton, our Assistant Director for Media Relations and Public Information. We're really excited to share some, what we think is exciting information with you about what's happening in the Communications Department. Our agenda for today will go over some of the marketing projects that we've been involved with. We'll talk about our social media campaign metrics, and then our media relations efforts. One of the things that we're doing this school year is going to be all about student enrollment. It's going to be a constant theme through the school year, both in terms of retaining the students we have and recruiting students that we don't have in the district. With school funding tied obviously directly to the enrollment number, the number of students on campus, we're in a position now where we have to constantly be marketing ourselves to our community, to our parents, to bring them into our schools. What I want to show you is a brand new homepage that we have created for our district to really help sell ourselves as a district to those parents who are coming into Lee County. I'm going to open this up and give you a look at what we've done. Oh, it's going to make me sign in. Of course it is.
Imagine that.
Been there, done that.
You know, when I left my phone behind. It's on the floor. Because it's going to make me, give me a code. We do.
Yeah.
But I do want you to see this so that you're not surprised when it comes up tomorrow. Thanks.
Don't ask for 90 days.
Yeah. All right, here we go. So this is just a preview of what it's going to look like. Across the top continues to be those drop-down menus. So that's really a place for our current families where they can continue to get to all the information they need. And playing right below that is this video that just sort of demonstrates some of the great things that are happening within our schools. So it's a highlight video, if you will, about the school district of Lee County and our invitation to excellence, your first chance right there to enroll. We give you the opportunity to log into the Focus login, your parent portal, the district support, and the employee portal, which you'll see is a very important part of our website. Quick little welcome here from the superintendent to families that are finding us on the website for the first time. An opportunity of how your child, your choice, their future. So some information about the advantages we believe we offer throughout the school district and why you should choose us. Some of the, again, nationally accredited, state certified teachers, our by the numbers section, empowering potential through academic excellence, another opportunity to enroll right there, and our in the news section. So this is just really geared towards families that aren't familiar with us, to encourage them to see the best that we have to offer and why we are the choice. And so we're bringing them in, we hope, right there at the beginning, kind of meshes the best practices on social media to bring them in and sell our district to them when they land on our webpage for the very first time. And that's going to make its debut come tomorrow morning. So back to our presentation. So in terms of some of the marketing campaigns that we've done, we developed the Invitation to Excellence last year. You might recall how we sent to our community letters and a postcard introducing them to all of the 6 things that makes our school district stand out. Our campuses are safe. We offer unmatched advanced academics. We have college credit opportunities. We're preparing students for a variety of career choices. Our arts programs are top tier. Our athletic programs very competitive, and we have the largest DROT program in the nation. So we've made some posters. Those are up in some businesses around the county. They get shared by our partners online, and this message was also part of a digital advertising campaign. We established, and we're going to continue this year, our highlights and happenings email. This is a quick little newsletter that's going out to staff and the community that has short headlines on things that have happened within the school district and then links to learn more. And this school year, we intend to try to become a little more targeted in this approach as we focus more on that foundation of the Invitation to Excellence that we created. So some of the things that we've done include creating toolkits for our principals. It was an opportunity for them to learn and get ideas about engaging with their students over the summer to keep them connected to the school. Some of those options included personalized communications, special events, strategic social media posts. We created toolkits for our middle schools to connect with 4th and 5th graders, and for high school students, or high schools to connect with 8th graders. And just as importantly, there were plans there to connect with the parents as well. We want our students to see that we've got cool things for them. We want mom and dad to feel like we're really caring for their child before they have to make a commitment to us. And we're working on a marketing plan that's to draw in our younger students, those kindergartners that always seem to register very late for us. If we can get them in early, we have them from the beginning, we keep them through 12th grade. So we're working as well with daycares, private pre-K programs, even priority marketing to develop this so that we can get enrollment started early in our district.
And sorry, I guess that it didn't say very properly, but building on that, one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle when it comes to marketing ourselves is social media. To set our schools up for success, we gave school leaders social media guidelines so that they can follow the same approach we use here at the district office to keep their content engaging. And by no means was this like a requirement for them, but we wanted to give them the tools to succeed. Think about where you spend most of your own time online. If you're like the rest of us, a lot of that is spent scrolling. We want parents in the community to see everything our schools have to offer and to come visit, and social media is one of the best ways to reach them. To make that even easier, we built ready-to-use toolkits with each school's branding and Canva, a platform they already use. You've probably noticed more activity from schools on your own feeds because they're already putting these tools to work, and we're proud of the responses that they're getting. To access this, it's easy as going through Launchpad and selecting Canva, and then navigating to the left-hand menu where it says Brand Kit and selecting your school. Inside each brand kit, we also created custom templates so schools can post quickly and stay on brand. Schools apply their own colors and logo to the templates, and Canva makes that easy. With the shuffle button, they can drop in their school colors and switch things around until it looks right. No design experience needed. And because everything lives in Canva, schools can also start from any of Canva's existing templates and do the same. It takes the guesswork out of it and gives every school a polished, consistent look with very little effort.
And staying with our social media effort, the communications department, as you know, for the last year was developing monthly campaigns based around the school district priorities of safe schools, increased student achievement, expanding technical education, increasing teacher recruitment, fiscal responsibility, and engaging our parents as partners. It was the first time we had ever been so organized in our approach, and it really paid off. During that 2025-26 school year, we just flooded that zone with positive news, and our Facebook content was played or displayed 16.6 million times over the course of the school year. Our top post, as you can see, was one of our student spotlights, featured the salutatorian at North Fort Myers High School. Got 392,000 views, so that was a 256% increase over the top post from the previous school year. In fact, the whole spotlight series we did on our top students, about 40 seniors through April and May, received more than 3 million combined views over those 6 weeks that we were making those posts. Our top post on Instagram was of the UF dual enrollment, 127,000 views on Instagram, which was a 101% increase over the school year before. The strategic planning really did help to pay off. on our social media to consistently tell our story and make sure that our community can understand the positives in our district. So if you take a look, you can see how much our watch times increased, 319%. 117% increase on our interactions and 22% increase of our new followers, along with the clicks of the links going up as well. All that happening despite seeing a slight decline there in the number of page visits. But we think a lot of that traffic from the previous school year was driven by Hurricanes Helene and Milton. And so this year without those, we didn't have that driving impact, but certainly our engagement was increased a lot. Saw the same thing if you look at our YouTube channel over the last year. The number of videos we posted, the number of times they were viewed, and the time viewing them all increased despite the small drop in the number of times that the video thumbnails were being displayed. Our website, leeschools.net, as you saw at the very beginning, a critical part of our outreach during the school year, 1.2 million total visitors. A total user is the count of distinct and unique visitors who came to our website. The 6.3 million page views are there. That's the total number of times that a page on our site is loaded or reloaded. And the user engagement at 4.1 million, that is defined as somebody that spent more than 10 seconds on a page, triggered an event like a click or a scroll, or visited 2 or more pages during their session. The top 10 pages listed there on the side, they show you what was accessed the most, the home page being number 1. That's where most people landed. That's why that's so important for our marketing efforts. Gaining access to the employee section of the website in spots 2 and 5. And the focus sign-in page and the careers page were 3rd and 4th in terms of total usage of our website. And then I wanted to show you this. Interestingly, we now see a majority of our users are finding us and using us on their cell phones, 50.4% compared to 48.6% now using a laptop to go to our website. Just a small percentage using a tablet or a smart TV. And that chart there, well, it can be a little hard to read. I'll decipher it for you. What it shows is 7 distinct spikes during the school year when the number of visits to the website jumped by 10, 12,000 or more on a singular day. We traced that back, and those were days when we sent an email or a text message to our parents about interim report cards and report cards. So we know that they've gotten used to now using Focus and seeing those spikes. They were logging on right away to gauge their parents' grades. So it's nice to see that message is there and strategically allows us to be thinking if we're sending out those report card messages, there's something else that we need our parents to be able to see on that day.
For the 25-26 school year, there were 2,252 stories that mentioned or highlighted the school district of Lee County. That's up from 1,885 the year before, an increase of nearly 20%. The overwhelming majority of the coverage was positive, sports-related, or neutral. A big part of that growth comes from being proactive. This year, we put out 98 press releases compared to 64 the year before, a 53% increase. But it's more than just press releases. It's the full package working together. The stories we push out on our own social media, the positive stories we help tell, and the relationships we've built with reporters who now come to us. The more stories we tell first, the more we shape the narrative around our schools, and these numbers show that that investment is paying off and giving us a strong foundation heading into the new school year. So where does all that coverage come from? The news press led with 768 stories, followed by The Breeze at 623, Wink at 322, and Gulf Coast News at 211. Another 245 came from other outlets, including WGCU, Gulf Shore Business, Telemundo, and others. Fox 4, which is now merged with Wink, accounted for 84. Between all of these, we're maintaining strong relationships across print, broadcast, and digital. As you know, I send each of you a breakdown on our coverage every day.
So just in conclusion, the Communications Department is standing by to increase our marketing efforts this school year. So we expect to be able to have more commercials, more digital advertising campaigns, a strong social media presence, and the continued engagement of our local media to be able to tell our story. Our PR efforts, they're more prepared, more strategic, more proactive than they have been before, and we're going to build upon that success in the year going forward. So Dr. Carlin, to you, board members, any comments or questions?
Thank you very much, Ms. Houlihan and Mr. Spicker and Ms. Kempton, First of all, just thank you. I'm glad for the summary statement, Mr. Spicker, because that was going to be exactly my comment. I think we are being tremendously proactive. We are getting out there. I just love seeing the statistics around our children. when we highlighted our superstar students with the great things that they do, that's a winner. You know, I'm a mom. I love to read online about our kids, what they're doing, and you know, too many times we hear about the negatives of our district, of our children. You know, people are quick to find fault, and it's very difficult to look for the good. So there's just a tremendous amount of good happening in this district. We acknowledge when things are not going right. We are out there and we do talk about those things, but I'll tell you, just really fantastic seeing our kids in the spotlight and finding the good things that are happening in our schools and with our students. So with that, we look forward to your conversation. Thank you.
Ms. Persons.
Got some good feedback this morning. School I was at, the principal comes up and says, well, first I said, you're doing a great job on your social media. There was a high school and they have all sorts of social media. They've been doing it for over a year. And it's working. We had 10 new students this year come back from private schools. Doesn't sound like a huge amount, but when you've been losing 10 students or 20 students or whatever, and they didn't lose any to her knowledge, plus she got some back the other way, that's definitely a net gain. And she attributed it to the fact that people are finding out what I've been saying all along. I believe in school choice, but I believe our public schools are the best choice, plain and simple. So with that said, I think you're doing a great job in this format of letting all the schools, because unfortunately I'm on Facebook too much, but I'm seeing all the schools now posting. And I really enjoy seeing all their new staff and the creativity that they're using on their Facebook. You know, it's not the same blah, blah, blah. I mean, one school, they were going, get ready for school, and then they had one assistant principal go 3, and the next one went 2, then there was 1, and then the principal jumps out, you know, which really is engaging. So they're all being creative, and it's just a wonderful thing to see, and you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Fleming?
I could not agree more. You guys are attacking something that has been a little bit of an issue for a while with purpose, and it can and you can tell, because if I look at this last slide, this one slide, number 9, 3+ million student spotlight views. That's amazing. I mean, that tells you this is what the community wants to see, and I see it. This is just this wonderful young man, but there are so many of these super successful students, and I know we talked a little bit out in one-on-one of some other ideas that I kind of threw at you guys. But, you know, to your point, Mr. Persons, about making sure that, you know, yes, you know, obviously parents know what's best for their child, and we want to make sure that the public school is their number one choice, unless there are other reasons why. Personal reasons why. But you look at something like the top Instagram post, I cannot tell you how many people have come to me and said how excited they are about the University of Florida dual enrollment. And just being able to put that out there for the public to know, because otherwise they don't. These aren't the things that they see in the media. So they've got to rely on you all. We have to rely on you all to get this positive messaging out and to make sure that we are our own commercial before someone else tells our commercial. So I cannot tell you how excited I am about what I've seen and in our last one-on-one, what I've heard is coming. So I applaud you all and the team, and thank you you work diligently, I know, around the clock. So thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. One kudos, because I know this has been like one of my pieces, I think, every meeting if I can. But personally, I want to say I know how hard it is to build those Canva templates for all the schools and branding, so great job. That's a huge undertaking. I do have one feedback or recommendation for this new rollout, since it's going to be an enrollment-focused landing page, and obviously we're having this discussion of public school being the school and being the choice. And I think there's an opportunity on that page to possibly create like a comparison table. And I want to do like an us versus them, but there is an us versus them of public, charter, and private. And some easy pieces is cost, certified teachers, the academies we provide. I don't know, I was doing like a whole big thing when I was like talking to you guys, our special education, the transportation, like there's so much that we can easily, as we're gonna do enrollment, just being like, check, 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 this is what you get with public. Yes, you have the opportunity, I'm 100% for choice, I don't go against that. I opened the charter school and I taught at a charter school. Every parent has their choice, but I think to have an understanding of what we do offer and what that looks like in comparison, just to have it there in front, I think that's a huge win and kind of clear visual of what they're getting when they choose to enroll at the school district of Lee County. And then I will also, yes, give kudos. I've seen our schools doing a lot of social media pieces. I think this morning I saw Ada Baker's cute little mission to an A, and I was like, that was adorable, and I know that took a lot of time and effort. So like a lot of kudos to our schools that are taking that on. But there are still a lot of schools that don't either engage in their account or don't have access to their accounts. And I think there's an opportunity at the district level. I had a conversation with the superintendent. I know I have lots of conversations with your team, where we can own those on the business level and being able to push out messaging throughout. So I would just love to see that kind of be taken over, because we can offset that. I mean, to have our schools need to focus on their school pieces, we should be able to support on the communication pieces. So whatever we can do to own that at the higher level for the business accounts to push that out, I would love to see that. But it is going in the right direction. We are making strides, and it's not something that's going to happen overnight. There's so many things that happens with this. There's a lot of changes and different things that come out, but there is positive that's coming out. I love that we're making that effort to tell our story, and that has been my piece of, we should be able to tell our story first before someone else does. So be able to put that information out, and no, kudos for all the hard work, especially like I said, for those Canva templates. That was not an easy feat.
It was a labor of love.
a huge labor of love, but I hope they understand how much labor of love that was, because that is huge. So thank you for that.
We do agree with, we do have some schools that don't necessarily use their account as much, or they aren't connected. So that has been one of our goals, is making sure every school has a Facebook and an Instagram, and making sure it's connected to our Facebook Meta Suite. And because we have had so many principals reach out interested to make sure that they're connected, our webmaster, Laura, has been speaking with people at Facebook every single day. They have flagged us as like a bot because we have so many schools. So that is something that we've been working on. And so hopefully by the end of the year, we will have every school active on Facebook.
It's been a process to get out of Meta jail, and we've been there for about 7 to 10 days at least, creating these accounts. And kudos to Laura for creating that homepage. I do like your idea. That was a work to get done. School Messenger, the template that they provide doesn't really allow for all of that. So she found all the workarounds, and we're looking to getting that comparison table somewhere on there, because I like the idea.
Ms. Fisher.
Thank you. Thank you for all your hard work. Great idea, Mrs. Chaviano. I was kind of thinking, we're talking about enrollment through that, some of our differences, so that I think that's a fantastic idea. I mean, one of the big things that's come up, for example, charter schools and private schools can't touch us on career and technical education, some of our arts programs, as well as, the now mentioned dual enrollment with FGC, OFSW, and now UF, and that's definitely been a big hit and sticking point with our constituents in this area, and I appreciate that. I was also going to give kudos in my neck of the woods in Cape Coral, a lot of positive feedback on how the Cape Coral Technical College expansion was covered, so I appreciate everyone on that. So, I mean, that's really, I've gotten so much positive feedback, not just from people, but also community partners in the area too, and are excited about that. So, thank you.
Okay, anything? No? Yes?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. This is awesome. And I know I'm one of those, I think, million actually probably that liked it. So
I've been there a few times myself too.
Yeah. But one of the questions that I just considering our budget situation, given the investment in the marketing toolkits and social media campaigns, how are we evaluating the return on investment between the digital ads versus community events like the summer cookout thing?
Just speaking to the Canva templates, that was all free. That's just me going in and putting all of the colors and their branding.
Yeah, and as we buy time, because marketing costs money, we'll then be able to get analytics on, what messages were received, which ones worked, and where they worked to be better the next time we do. But at least everything we've done really so far has been free.
Thank you. Is this, now this is going to be a little touchy subject, but is this going to be in lieu of, we got really I'm not sure. The community really gave us a hard time with some of our advertising that we did. Is this going to be in lieu of, or this is in addition to additional mailing pieces and so forth?
No additional mailers are planned.
Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Jordan?
I just want to say thank you. I really appreciate this because I know that a lot of the schools in District 4 have utilized this to the nth degree, where the kids left school and they just never left. Like Franklin, for instance, from Franklin Park, has been all over the world.
Yeah,
And
great.
so the kids are coming back with, excitement and ready to, they're prepared to see where Franklin's going next. So I just think that it is a great tool for our teachers, our principals, and I think the principals are having fun with this as well because it is encouraging people to like their schools. So I just had to say that. It was just I've actually taken Franklin with me, so it's like I'm part of this. So I just thank you very much for putting that together in Canva for them. Yeah.
Okay, any other comments from board members? Okay, I'm going to just wrap this up really quickly. As you all know, we're in the education business, and of course, our internal customers are our students, and I'm really pleased to see that we really have a process in place for enrollment, not only retaining folks, but attracting new people. So I'm real impressed with what I've seen you folks accomplish this last year. I'm looking forward to tomorrow down in Bonita. I know you folks have a big activity plan to capture comments from the public and from parents and from students, and most importantly, our teachers that are really proud of that school, and the same with Mrs. Hernandez, the principal down there. So I applaud you on that. Do we have something set up for Wednesday for our new teachers that are going to be here?
We'll be handling that internally, yeah.
Yeah, that would be great, because, when we did the recognition that evening, I made a comment that we kind of lacked an opportunity to really capture what we did well. With those folks with over 40 years and 35 years, we had some really great positive comments from our people. It's a shame that wasn't captured. So I'm looking forward to Wednesday. I'm going to be here early in the morning when we kick this off. And I think that'll be just a great event to send out to the public to show what's happening as we attract and retain teachers. So thank you very much. Great presentation, very positive.
Thank you.
Next, we have the district strategic priorities, career tech opportunities, presented by Ed Matthews and Matt Brennenkamp. Clayton's in the next one. I don't know that. Clayton, are you joining us on this presentation? Yeah, you're not my script. I have you on the second piece, but not this one. Thank you for that correction, Mr. Dodig. That was really.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Superintendent Dr. Carlin, as well as board members. My name is Ed Matthews, Associate Superintendent for Adult and Career Education. And with me, I'm very honored to have Clayton Simmons, Executive Director for the Office of School Choice and Administration, as well as Matt Bredenkamp, Director of Adult Career and Applied Curriculum Education. Today, we're going to give you an update on where we stand with adult and career education, and I'm very excited to share the growth from last year when we made the same presentation in August of last year. So everything that we are going to focus on today is on Dr. Carlin's, one of her priorities in running the school district, and that is expanding technical education opportunities for all of our students. This is a focus of the district. It's a focus of all of our work and our team. We have a very, very powerful team. And we have added programs throughout the entire district, meeting the needs of our workforce and our community to make sure that we have pathways for all of our students to be successful, not just some of our students, but for all of our students. And with that, we are building upon our existing programs into creating the skills necessary to meet the high demand fields that are necessary for our students to have a bright future and to meet the evolving needs of our workforce. I'm very proud to share as well too that the Department of Education for Florida has 17 career clusters, and Lee County, the school district of Lee County, is one of the few school districts that offer all 17 career clusters out of all the school districts, especially in our area, but also throughout the state. This is a huge honor for our K-12 continuum, as well as our post-secondary opportunities that we offer at Cape Coral Tech, Fort Myers Tech, and our Public Service Academy, as well as our Dunbar Community School. Great things are happening. As you can read, all 17 of them there. I'll just highlight that we go all the way from agriculture, food and natural resources to transportation, distribution, and logistics. These opportunities are offered in all areas of the district and not just in one area. As you know, last week we were very, very honored to celebrate the ribbon cutting at Cape Coral Technical College, where now we're offering more blue collar skills to our students out in Cape Coral. So with that, I'm very honored to share the growth of last year. Last year we gave you some of our goals that we look to achieve, and with that I'd like to hand this presentation over to Mr. Bredenkamp as he shares the 3-year trend with our high school industry certifications.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. Appreciate the opportunity to be in front of you to share some of the numbers that we were able to achieve this past school year. I'd like to kind of contextualize some of the numbers in front of you, going back to the end of the 24-25 school year with the amount of certifications that we had earned. We really took a look at that data and saw a lot of opportunity for growth. I think I mentioned in previous meetings that we really looked at our programs individually, and some of our programs they were very concerned about their individual pass rate as opposed to testing a higher volume of students. So some programs were testing 10 students and 8 were passing, which is excellent. We love that 8 students got certifications, but we saw that they should be testing more of the students that they see on a daily basis. So with that being said, we'd rather them test 100 students and have 75% of those pass, and then we'd get 75 certifications. So with that being said, as you can see, the challenge was set out for the schools to really push students to get a credential and get a certification out of the career academies that we have at our schools. You can see that we've had a 43% increase this past school year on pass certifications, which leads to more CAPE funding, which leads to our programs being self-sufficient and being able to fund themselves on a year-to-year basis. You can also see that our volume of testing has gone up by 56%, and essentially what that shows is that the schools met the challenge. The teachers and administrators at those schools deserve all the credit for really pushing their students to test and pushing their students to achieve more credentials in our programs. And as that ties into, as I said, with the CAPE funding, it ties into to a lot of opportunity for the schools moving forward. Roughly 50% of those 4,740 pass certifications were worth 0.1 FTE in CAPE funding back to the schools for their programs. That equals about $550 per earned exam. $25 of that goes for each exam goes back to the teacher for a bonus. Roughly 50% of those exams, the other 50% were 0.2 FTE, which equates to $1,100 per exam passed, and $50 per exam passed goes back to the teachers for a bonus. This equates to around $3.9 million through all the programs. Using the same metrics above, with the FTE and being 50% of each level, you would see that that's $1.2 million more funds this year earned than previous years. Very proud of the schools for their achievement on this. They did a very nice job increasing those opportunities. That money goes back to support CTE programs for curriculum, supplies, equipment needs for new and existing programs. This funding also ensures, as I stated before, it ensures that the programs are self-sustaining and that we don't have to look for as many outside sources to help fund those programs. Just a little bit more information on those past exams. Our top 5 in numbers were the entrepreneurship and small business exam given to a lot of our marketing students and other areas as well. Our first year giving the Ducks Unlimited or Ecology Conservation and Management certification, and it's in our top 2 in terms of achievement. PMI Project Management Ready, That's another one that you're going to see more of as time moves forward. Toon Boom Certified Associate, as well as in our culinary programs, the Serve Safe exam as well is in that top 5. So very, very proud of those programs for their increased certifications. This is just to show you the different clusters that Mr. Matthews showed you at the beginning of the presentation and which ones increased the most over this year. Agriculture and food and natural resources, that includes that Ducks Unlimited exam, so that's why you see such a high rate of increase there. Again, very proud of those programs. Architecture and construction, arts and AV, technology and communication were all above 50% growth on their certification achievement. In the next few slides, I'm going to just go over some other highlights, CTE highlights that we saw over the 25-26 school year, just to let you know where we've been and what we've been working on. As I stated earlier, to level set the schools on utilizing their earned CAPE funds to support programs appropriately. That's been a huge communication piece throughout the school year to make sure that we are using those CAPE funds appropriately. Obtaining CAP grants over the last few years has been a really huge help in growing our programs. That's been something the state has done each year for the past 4 years. We have our application in for our next one, but it's an opportunity we can never refuse to go after, and we appreciate the opportunity the state has given us to get these funds. It's, as you can see, the programs listed each year that we've put these towards. Of course, there's more. I just didn't list them all on the slide, but those are some of the highlights each year for each of those amounts that we've received. College and career acceleration opportunities to expand opportunities for our schools to increase their school grade, but really college and career acceleration points really transfer into student credentials. That's the main piece of that. While industry certifications are a key component to that, there are other ways for students to earn a CCA point before they leave their high school path. And some of those examples are there with Blueprints for Professional Success and giving the Entrepreneurship Small Business Exam, and also, again, adding the Ducks Unlimited Conservation Exam as an opportunity for them to get a certification. Zello, our career exploration program that we've been utilizing over the last few years, had a huge bump this past year in its usage. The schools took on the challenge of increasing that exposure to that program, and this is K-12. I mean, it increased 70% to 236,000 engagements and in student logins, and we're very proud of the schools for their dedication to this program. I really think it's going to really help set us up in the future for involvement in our career academies, as well as having a pathway to their post-secondary success. Dr. Carlin last year set out a challenge for us to get the seniors, every senior, to have a Plan A and Plan B before leaving high school. And so we used Zello to gather that data. And as you can see, 50% of our seniors chose a post-secondary enrollment. That is, whether it's tech school, four-year college, or four-year university or two-year college. 50% of our students chose post-secondary. 20% chose either career pathway employment or entrepreneurship, and then 10% chose military enlistment. And then you can see on the Plan B side, they're a little bit more evenly distributed, because obviously if you're choosing post-secondary enrollment as your Plan A, you were to choose something else for your Plan B in terms of one of the other 4 categories. So it's really awesome to see just the dedication to all areas within our district and what we offer. And then last year, at the beginning of the year in the fall, we met with Lee Health, the largest employer in the county, to talk to them about how we can further leverage our relationship with them to make everything we do a win-win and provide opportunities for our students to get a career path when they leave high school. And not only our students seeking medical professions, but also students seeking other professions as well. So we really discussed with them how we could do that. And last year, at the end of the year, in May, we in partnership with Lee Health, we had a successful hiring event for CNAs, as well as the entry-level positions that Lee Health has. So in the morning, it was a CNA event where all the CNAs that were trying to be certified and get hired were there interviewing with Lee Health HR department. And then in the afternoon, we extended the opportunity for all schools to send students that were interested in, whether it be the cafeteria or the customer service areas. We provided opportunities for them to interview for those jobs as well, so we could help Lee Health fill their jobs and place students into the workforce in our local economy. So we're continuing that relationship with Lee Health and expanding that as well. So very excited about what's to come in the future with that. Apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship opportunities. As you can see on the slide, Tri-County Apprenticeship is currently at capacity, and it is, we're looking for ways to grow that. We're talking with the leadership over there to make sure that we are leveraging every opportunity to get our students involved in pre-apprenticeship programs and trying to see how we can expand that this year. Junior Achievement is also an organization we work with for our pre-apprenticeship programs, and in 24-25, you can see East Lee County High School was involved in that program, where nearly all the students involved were hired into jobs after going through the program. And then last year, we had Lehigh Senior High School as well as Gateway Charter High School were involved in this program, and had a very successful hiring event this year as well. So just providing opportunities for students to be able to get these opportunities for jobs and for career and employment is just going to keep expanding. And lastly, on this slide, you can see that the business partner reach has been growing every single quarter when we have a CAB meeting. Most of you have been to those, if not all of you have been to each one of them. And you can see that the business partner engagement has really skyrocketed this past year. Very proud of that work. The CTE team has really put a lot of hard work into trying to expand those partnerships and making sure the students have as many opportunities as possible to get plugged into the community. And then last few slides here before I turn it over to Mr. Simmons. AI has been a question around CTE a lot lately. I just wanted to kind of give everyone a bird's eye view of what we're looking at for AI and implementation into CTE courses. So there's kind of a two-level approach here. One level is, our cybersecurity and networking programs would really be looking into industry certifications, the back end of AI, how to build AI, that sort of thing. So learning about those, that side of it. But then all of our other programs, while they may not need to know the background of AI and how it's built, they need to know how to utilize it in their future profession. So the focus for AI in those programs would really be utilization, and how are they going to utilize AI in their specific industry that they teach. So with that, there's a lot of teachers that are not necessarily, or they're from the profession, but they didn't necessarily use AI when they were in their profession. So there's a lot of upskilling that we'll have to do to help the teachers really come up to speed with some of this stuff, but it's a challenge that the CTE team is ready for. We're wanting to really explore options for professional development and ways to be able to get this stuff in front of the students and really get them prepared for the workforce that they're facing when they get out there that will be utilizing AI. So that's the next step there. And then I just wanted to remind everyone too about how we come up with what programs are going into what schools, besides just asking the school what kind of program do you want. We really want to engage our local business partners, our all of the different stakeholders that are in this type of decision making. So we have a comprehensive local needs assessment we do every 2 years. This is designed to help identify local workforce needs. It assesses and decides what types of programs we should add and remove from schools, and it must be completed in order to take advantage of the opportunities the Perkins Grant and other federal grants for CTE provide. We also engage in conversations with people at CareerSource, FSW and FGCU, tech schools, the Horizon Council, Economic Development Office, Collaboratory, local Chamber of Commerce, and of course our local business partners. So we really try to make sure that we are feeding the workforce and we're not just doing things that look flashy and are making sure that we're actually putting students from the schools either into post-secondary or into employment. And then this last slide is just kind of anecdotal. It's not necessarily the fine numbers each day of what we're looking at, but it's more just to kind of gauge your to kind of hone it in a little bit in terms of what we do. We do not use this as a scientific approach to choose academies, but it was more just to show you what's out there on the internet. when you go to Gemini and you type in how many medical job postings are there in Lee County, Florida, or how many hospitality jobs there are, you can see the range in what's listed there in terms of how many jobs we have in this county for the various industries that are listed. And clearly we are trying to hone in on those type of careers. We wouldn't want to put necessarily a cybersecurity program at each and every high school to be able to feed 50 to 150 jobs, as opposed to medical. I would want it every single high school. So we really try to be very strategic in how we put different programs around the district and where we're putting them and how many of them that we have, so we don't necessarily saturate one market or the other. So again, it's just anecdotal. It's not specific data of today and how many openings there are, but I just thought you might be interested in seeing that. With that being said, I'll pass it over to Mr. Simmons to talk about adult education.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bredenkamp. I'm going to give you an update on where we are with our adult education program, as well as share some exciting results for our technical academies. When you're looking at adult and career education reporting data, it's lag data, which means it's a year behind. So for the last year, the 25-26, we won't get the results until November. But the last reportable year, I do want to share some exciting progress that was made, and then give you an update on some of the stuff coming up that we did last year. You can see that we had 3,260 total students that in 24-25, and of those, the vast majority of them, 84%, did ESOL, and 16% took our GED courses. I will share with you that Lee County made growth across all performance indicators, every one of them, and met or exceeded state target for measurable skills and gains. Also, when you look at the exit-based performance indicators, we made tremendous gains in our students that were finding success and getting employed after exiting our programs. So we're very excited about that. Adult education, not only are they, getting some quality education, but they're getting employed once they leave our programs. For the 25-26, remember, we're still gathering data up until November. And if you can remember back, the federal grant money was issued later than it was the previous year, so that has something to do with why we're seeing smaller numbers so far. But we had a small decrease in ESOL and an increase in GED. One thing that we're excited about that was implemented this past year was our integrated education training program. And this is an opportunity for our students that are in adult education to get pre-employability skills. So while they're doing their GED or their ESOL, they can also get skills in other areas. And you can see we had 93% that completed the pre-health, 25 that did pre-construction, and 40 that did pre-education. And the goal with that is not just to teach them ESOL or GED, it's to get them ready to find a job once they leave us. Some exciting highlights from the 25-26. You can see we did something called the GED Math Boot Camp. And what we found is that of the students that were taking the GED exam and did not pass, 80% of those, it was because of math. And many of them had taken math more than once. So we put together a boot camp in the department, and we are very excited that the results of that, once the students completed that boot camp, 50% of them went on to complete the exam. So that was really terrific results. And that was started in January. That will continue. Because of the success of that, we are going to try to expand that and continue getting our students to pass the exam. Also in January, we implemented the Family Literacy Program at Edgewood Academy. That's where we taught ESOL classes on that campus. This was a collaborative effort with FGCU and our Lehigh Senior High Education Academy, and our effort to continue to facilitate family literacy across our county. In addition to that, we also were able to expand that integrated education training program to include culinary hospitality, which is SafeServe, so they can go get a job in that industry, and project management. A lot of these programs were previously taught online, But we were able to start this year and do more hands-on activities where they came in. And then in the summer, we piloted these programs where the students came in person. And, you know, you learn a lot better when you're talking about, you think about food service, you're going to learn a lot more coming in and doing hands-on than you are online. So we're excited to continue to expand that program. And then in the fall, we're going to expand the integrated training, education training to multiple locations throughout the district. And when you're looking at our technical colleges, Fort Myers FMTC and Cape Coral Technical College and our Public Service Academy, very excited to share with you that this is not, I know that a lot of the time we only look at the top 10. This is the entire state. We are looking at, we took a snapshot, but Lee County is 5th in the entire state of Florida in the number of certifications that our Technical College and Public Service Academy were able to produce last year. And if you notice, there's some very large districts that aren't on this list. And you look at Orange is way down the list. So they did a fantastic job. I mean, we got to give them a lot of credit for the effort that they put in our technical colleges and our Public Service Academy. You know, and I saw many of you there last week when we cut the ribbon for Cape Coral Technical College additions. So this number is going to continue to climb when you look at the number of opportunities that we're able to offer there. In addition, you know, we're going to offer some dual enrollment opportunities at East Lee County and South Fort Myers High this coming year with our technical colleges. So we'll have students that will be able to earn it on our high school sites. This is going to increase those numbers even more. So, you know, we're reaching for some pretty hefty counties at the top, but we're going to continue to make gains, and just wanted to put a shout out to the efforts that they're putting in at those technical academies. And at this time, I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Matthews.
So as you can tell, we're very, very proud of the work of our past year here at the School District of Lee County with adult and career technical education. And with that, we are very excited about the 26-27 school year. And just to give you some snapshots here of some things that we're going to be working on is we're going to focus on Zello for the 26-27 school year. I know that school board member Ms. Chaviano is very, very excited to be a part of that process as we make sure that not only do we have a wide net with all of our high schools, but we're also going to go deep with vertical alignment with our middle schools as well as our elementary schools. So we're going to make sure that we use that across the board. Our middle schools will have digital tool certifications. Last year that was paused due to state funding from the state of Florida. Now we have that back, so we're very excited about that. And then this is the one that I really want everybody to focus on right here, because in our old way of doing career technical education with school choice, we only had medical programs at certain schools, and that school was sort of known as the medical academy school. Well, with such a great need for medical workers across our area, we have expanded our medical academies to almost all of our schools, high schools across the district. And so just to give you a little snapshot here, North Fort Myers High School as well as Riverdale High School will have a CNA program for the upcoming year. Fort Myers High School, Cypress Lake High School, and soon to be Alva High School will have physical and occupational therapy programs. Bonita Springs High School, East Lee High School, Estero High School, Ida Baker, Mariner, as well as South Fort Myers High School will have behavioral health programs. And then finally, we are working on another CAP grant proposal to help enhance all of those opportunities. Please be aware that those opportunities do not just stand by themselves. Some students will be able to stack those credentials so that when they go into the labor market, they'll have a higher chance for employment and higher wages due to the stacked degrees that they'll have. And please know that we're also working with Jen Robinson with our business community outreach program to tier our business sponsorship. So not only will it be a general wide net, but we're going to be more focused in regards to who's sponsoring different events, how are we giving recognition to them, and how can we enhance that partnership for them as well as for us. And then finally at the end here where it says expand apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeship opportunities, we're currently working to expand our apprenticeship opportunities, not only in construction, but as well as other industries such as medical. We've already reached out to Lee Health to do a pre-apprenticeship opportunity with them so that we can get a large majority of our graduates to go directly into the workforce if that's the path they choose. And then right here, here's some other exciting things I want to share as well too, is when we're looking at expanding our IET opportunities for our adult learners, that means training them to be EKG technicians, financial literacy with QuickBooks, Microsoft Office and business tools. For Fort Myers Technical College, Mr. Simmons shared this, but I want to elaborate on this further. So we have a waiting list for students in welding as well as automotive at FMTC and as well as Cape Coral Technical College. So we are going to use the space available with our welding labs as well as our automotive labs at South Fort Myers High School and East Lee County High School, where seniors, only seniors, if they choose to, they can do dual enrollment there at that site. So with the home students get first choice, and then whatever seats are left over, any student that can provide their own transportation can then fill those slots to where then they can earn not only their high school diploma, but also a credential from FMTC in welding or automotive. It's a great opportunity. Other districts are doing this. These are our pilots, and we will certainly expand this as we move forward. As you know, I saw many of you at the ribbon cutting for the Cape Coral Technical College expansion. Great things are happening there with Charlie Peace and Gina Sabiston and the expansion that they've created there in regards to outboard mechanics, welding technology, automotive, building technology, HVAC, the list goes on. So more students will have opportunities there. And then with Director Todd Everly at Southwest Florida Public Service Academy, we are going to be enhancing our dual enrollment fire program opportunities, shifting the EMT, because we find that a lot of our students, when they finish Fire 1, it sort of limits them in their job opportunities because you need to have Fire 2 really to get that next opportunity. However, if we go to EMT, they can go directly into the workforce, whether it's in the back of an ambulance or at a hospital, or the list goes on and on. So it allows greater opportunities for our students to go right into the workforce. And then up here on the list, on the screen, I'm really excited. We had so many, I couldn't put everything there, but I just wanted you to be aware that we have our Pathways to Success event. We run this event about every 3 weeks to a month, where we rotate around through all of our high schools. We'll even go out to our middle schools this year, where we had business leaders come out, talk about who they are, what business they're involved in, what were their obstacles, how did they overcome those things, what's their projection for the future. It was a huge hit this past year. We're going to expand upon that. And then we have our Career Advisory Board, where we will have our first meeting September 30th at Riverdale High School, the new and improved Riverdale High School. And then in the winter, we'll have at Cypress Lake High School. And then in the springtime, we'll have a site to be determined. When you go into the rest of our events, a lot of them go directly hand in hand with what our workforce is asking for. So with the Florida Restaurant Lodging Association, we have our culinary showcase with all of our schools that participate. And our culinary academies, October 20th. We go into Build My Future with the huge construction cluster that'll be going on at JetBlue Park, October 22nd. And there's talk of also adding this event to a standalone event in Cape Coral with Dusty Shelton and the Cape Coral Chamber out there as well too. We go into then the Agriculture Forum that's at FGCU. That's a huge event for not only Lee County but all of Southwest Florida. Go back to the Restaurant Lodging Association, and then you can see the month of May is really packed with a lot of exciting events, where we have our hiring event with Lee Health, where we'll expand on what we did last year for our medical professionals in the morning, followed by our entry-level positions in the afternoon, so they can go right into the Lee Health ecosystem that they have to provide for our students. And then we'll have school site workforce signing, so every high school will have their own signing days for their different academies, and then we'll follow that up with a district event that will bring all of them together so that we can celebrate those students. And then finally, we have our cyber camp, which is always a huge hit at FSW. Our business leaders love that event, and our students are very, very proud to be there. And that'll be for our middle schoolers and high schoolers at FSW. So with that, I'd like to open this up for any comments from Dr. Carlin, as well as any comments from our school board.
Thank you very much, Mr. Matthews and Mr. Simmons and Mr. Bradenkamp, for a very thorough presentation. I appreciate it. So as we can see, there's a lot of work going on in the adult and career education space. First of all, just want to start out with, very important to ensure that children have multiple pathways that they can engage with. When I was going through school, at the very end of our schooling, all 7 of us sat with my mom and dad, and we had to talk about where we were going to college. That was the path for the O'Donnell kids. And, those days are gone. Children have so many more opportunities to include, the whole career and technical education pathway. So we're very excited about that. We hear from our community, there's huge numbers of opportunities in the skilled trades areas, and that's what we want to be able to do. I've shared with our community, we don't want people to have to go outside this area to hire a workforce. We have the students that are graduating from the school district of Lee County. We want to make sure that they have the skills that they need to be able to fulfill those job placements. And just huge kudos also to our Cape Coral Technical College, Fort Myers Technical College, and to our Public Service Academy. You can see the certifications that they've been awarded, top 5 in the state, and I know Mr. Matthews and the team mentioned that, but that's a really big deal. So when you see those directors, if you just give them an extra high five on that, that's a really big kudos for not only our district, but also for the students that participate in those programs. So as you can see, many great opportunities available to our students. We look forward to your conversation and your discussion. Thank you.
Ms. Fisher?
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Carlin. Thank you, gentlemen, for your hard work. I love the changes, especially over these past 2 years, looking at how the culture of career and technical education has turned around this district and having that as a significant and viable option. So I appreciate that. There's 3 things I'd like to address. Can we go to slide number 4, please? So I think it's fantastic the amount of tests we're taking, the passes up there, but I do have a question. So we talked about student achievement and obviously looking at, percentages and things like that. How can we, as a board, as a superintendent administration, do better to support our students? I know there are obviously industry standard tests for that, but we obviously have a, 7-point change in our pass rate. So how can we better support them or, teachers and faculty for this to help them increase that pass rate back up?
So yeah, I'll address it. I'll address the number of fails and the decrease in the pass rate with saying this. We had to have a change of mentality with how we were approaching the exams. Again, I go back to just the reluctance to test students. I think what you'll see, and my hope is that, I don't want to, hope isn't a strategy, but we've talked to the schools about some of these programs that were struggling, and the strategy is to go to those schools, talk to them about whether it's a program as a whole, whether it's an individual teacher on that side that we need to either talk to about what can we do as the CTE department help support them and their pass rate and the students passing those exams. Because what it really comes down to is exposure, right? It's exposure to the material, it's exposure to what's on the exam, and the teachers have to walk the students through that throughout the entire year. A lot of the failures from my discussions with my team down the hallway, they'll tell me that a lot of times it's, the teachers may send the students too early to test. They didn't get through all the material. We have practice exams that they go through, but at the same time, it's one of those things where we wanted them to take some chances this year. So I think that's really what it came down to. As far as supporting us in that endeavor, I think just continuing to praise those teachers for their hard work in doing what they do every time you see them. I think that's huge. Because I think a lot of times CTE, it's what have you done for me lately on the teacher side in terms of their certifications, right? You might have had a really high amount of output this year, and then but what can you do for me this coming year, kind of a thing. So just really praising them, I think, will really help draw attention to it and really letting them know that they're doing a great job. I think we'll get down to what the students are missing in terms of the exams. We'll get down to that, because obviously with any exam you want to get down to the why. Why are we failing? Why are those particular kids failing? What standards were they missing? And go and recoup for the next year. So I think that's what the teachers will be doing right away.
Thank you. Next, can we go to slide 11, please? Appreciate the focus on artificial intelligence. We've talked about this as a board. I know our superintendent has in looking at things. So I know AI is not just one thing, there's multiple components to it, but I would like to see kind of further down the line, what are some of the other things? When I see cybersecurity and networking, that's really just kind of infrastructure to it. So I want to see what other details moving forward, and kind of if you guys can keep us updated on that, if that's all right with the superintendent.
Absolutely.
Kind of where we go with that, so. Of course. Next thing is kind of something I've generally talked about the last couple of years, and want to emphasize, you guys have done great outreach in the high schools. I love that you're getting in the middle schools right now. That's been fantastic. I've seen that change, especially over the last about year and a half, so thank you for doing that. I would like to see, and again, you know, there's only so much time in a day and so many resources, but more exposure to the trades and CT in our elementary schools, so they understand what kind of the jobs are, and, you know, because tradition in the past, sometimes it was high school that, you know, people looked as last resort, and it's not. So I'd like to kind of look at, as we go back, and you're doing it middle school, eventually kind of bring that focus and introduce our elementary school kids to some CT pathways, just to give them more of an awareness. So appreciate all your hard work, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Shelby?
Thank you. No, good job. And obviously all this information, CTE has kind of been, I think, one of the majority of our passions here on the panel. But I had 4 questions, I guess. For Zello, I know that was a program and it has some years behind it. When does it sunset? Because I thought it was only like 5 or 6 years, it wasn't.
I believe that they're looking to renew it the upcoming year, if not this year, the following year. I would imagine it would be renewed by the state.
For another 5 years? Okay. And then as far as kind of hitting on that plan after graduation, I actually had a meeting with the superintendent. I had the discussion of like that senior assignment kind of requirement. Again, I'm a product of the Lee County School District. The only reason why I applied to college is because it was a language arts assignment. It was a requirement. They had us write our essay, and that's how I enrolled and got accepted into FGCU. There wasn't a plan for me to go to college. So something along those lines of focusing more on what that senior goal is, yes, having that plan. And again, I don't know if we can make it an assignment, if there's something we can do where it's not just, it'd be great if you have the plan, but something where we can actually like, I don't know, bone, stick, something where we can kind of get that over. Because I know personally, again, I've graduated many moons ago. It helped me because it was a class requirement and it was a grade. And that's how it got done, and that's how I went to college. But outside of that, I think we hit on the conversations in middle school. I think it's important. I know when I meet with parents and I talk to families, by the time that your kid's enrolled in high school and they're looking at those academies, or maybe they didn't think about it their freshman year and now they're in their sophomore year, depending on what they're going after, if they're going to do Bright Futures or ACE or IB or any of those things, there's things that are foundational and kind of required in 9th grade that they should be going after, and our middle school parents aren't really thinking about those things if they don't have high school students or have gone through the school district. So I think it's important to kind of maybe get into the middle schools and have those conversations of those pathways. Both of those possibilities are, I think, again, the trades years ago was kind of the other piece of what you could fall into, and we know the trades, those kids graduate in less than a year making 6 figures sometimes. And so I think there's great opportunity there. And then into the last thing, you know, when we talk about AI and cybersecurity, I did my own Gemini question, and I said, what field or industry will experience the most growth in the next 10 years? Healthcare will always be first, but second is the artificial intelligence, data science, and cybersecurity is the fastest technical. And then outside of just jobs for right now, my other question was what will experience the most job growth in 10 years, and then being obviously AI as part of that, but more under professional science, scientific and technical services. So what Mr. Fisher was saying as far as, yeah, seeing AI and cybersecurity is great. I think when we look at data scientists as a, you know, the career path, information security analysts, software AI developers, that's all things and opportunities that are coming down the pathway. And I know healthcare, obviously we're in Florida, we're a retirement community. Yes, healthcare is gonna be dominant. And entry level in those fields is oftentimes few and hard to come by, depending what it is. But I would like to see, again, when we're planning or looking for growth and the opportunity future, yes, today with those jobs and those careers, it may not be in abundance, but when we're looking in future and scaling down the line 10 years from now, 15 years from now, that technical piece, that cybersecurity, that AI piece is coming, and it hits every single industry that it serves. So I would like to see, again, as Mr. Fisher stated, what that looks like, and I have yet to have a follow-up conversation with your guys' department, because this has really been an area of mine and kind of a passion of mine to see what it is that we're really doing in our schools right now, and then what the plan is for the next 5 to 10 years to kind of get ahead of that, because they are high-paying jobs. We can keep our students here, and again, there's opportunity across every industry, especially even in Lee Health. So again, just curious to see if we can, schedule those opportunities.
I'd be
to have those
excited to
discussions.
sit down with you about it.
Awesome, thank you. That's all I got.
Okay, Ms. Giovanelli?
Thank you. Great presentation. The teacher incentives on number 4, how are the teacher bonus funds, the $25 or $50 per past exam distributed? Are the teachers receiving adequate professional development to support the expansion into new certifications, like the areas like the Ducks Unlimited Ecology? It's like, so where, because it leads me back to something Mr. Fisher said regarding the decline we had in the pass rate, right? So I was wondering if we put too much on, if the teachers put too much on the students, and so, they all took the exams, but they weren't, adequately prepared.
Yeah, so good points. This year was the first. We'll take the Ducks Unlimited example that you brought up. That was something that last August we came up with a opportunity for students to get a certification in their environmental science classes, which made it a lot easier to be able to give them a certification that's outside the CTE course progression. So what that did was, of course, it put a lot of pressure on those teachers to get that out, right? And absolutely. So did they get that support right away? They did from academic services as well as my department, and it was a team effort to be able to help them. But it was at the last minute. So it was one of those things where we didn't want to wait on the strategy for an entire year to implement it, because it was too much of an opportunity to be able to give students an opportunity to test and to get a certification. So we went ahead and went with it. What I will tell you is we spent some time over the summer working with some of those teachers to develop plans to help support this year, and we've already doubled the amount of participation that we're going to be having within environmental science. We've talked to the schools about how much more prepared we are to help support those efforts. So yes, to make sure those teachers do have the best opportunity to receive those bonuses, as well as the students to be able to pass the exams, we have put things in place to make that happen.
If I could add as well too, the CTE team with Matt and I, with Clayton here, we've just completed, was this a year? So all the work that you saw was really done in the past year. And so some of the things that we initiated, we had to start them and then follow up later in order to get it to start the school year out. So as we rushed a little bit at the beginning of last year, now we have a full plan in place to not only build upon it, but to make it even better for the upcoming school year.
And if I could add one more thing, with regarding the pass rate, because I know some, you're seeing that decline pass rate, and I don't want that to hang anybody up. A program, the state allows for a program to have a 50% pass rate or higher before there's any kind of, intervention plan or whatever that may need to happen. So while seeing that 82% pass rate in years prior, I was willing to change the message about CTE testing to get our teachers to come off of their worry about their own individual pass rates, so that we could have more students passing exams to begin with. Now, of course, we need to tighten that up. I'm not accepting that as being the standard, or that we need to move forward with declining pass rates. That's not the message here. The message would be we needed more students to test, because students weren't being given the opportunity to test. So I'm very proud of this work. I know that, again, I know there's a decline there, and we don't like to see declines in things like pass rates, but I wanted to ease your mind about that, because it's not something I was worried about going down 6 or 7 points because of the volume that we're now testing at. So now if we keep the volume and we make those adjustments in preparing the students, we should see that pass rate creep back up with those higher numbers.
Thank you, because I actually was thinking it was the other way around. You weren't testing enough students to have the, you know what I mean?
Right.
So instead you were testing too many kind of that weren't ready.
Correct. So we'll get better. The pass rates will get better. It's just this year I had to change the mentality of the schools, because they were too hung up. They were too hung up on not testing enough kids.
Got it, thank you. Slide 5 and 7, the CAPE funding, mentions a level setting schools on utilizing earned CAPE funding appropriately. Were schools previously misallocating or underutilizing these funds, and what guardrails are now in place?
No, a lot of times it was, I don't think the schools necessarily knew how to use the funds. So they weren't necessarily utilizing the funds in some cases at all. They were just sitting there not being put back into the programs because the district CTE funds were covering most of those expenditures. And I'm not saying that's in every case. That's not in every case. Some schools were utilizing them just fine, but there were some schools that just, I think, whether it was principal turnover or whether it was some other things in terms of understanding the CAPE funds in and of itself, I don't know that they all knew where and how to use those CAPE funds appropriately, so they just weren't using them at all. So that gave an opportunity for me to be able to sit down with those principals and sit down with the schools and explain, okay, here's exactly how we can use these funds. This is what we can use them for. This is how we utilize them. But as far as misusing them, no, that wouldn't be accurate.
Thank you. How are we going to, with the CAP grant, with funding fluctuating year to year, especially for like the 169 for the 2026 aviation repair and maintenance, how do we plan to sustain that specialized high-cost programs once grant funding expires? I'm a little worried about a lot of expiring grants these days.
Yeah, it's a great question and a great worry. It really comes down to the certifications at that point, right? Once programs are established, they must be certifying, which then goes back to what I was talking about as volume of students testing and how important that is, and how important that every student that goes through those programs needs to be ready to test, because it's funding back to the programs to keep them self-sustainable. Otherwise, you're exactly right. That is a huge worry. How do we keep the program going if the students are not certifying and bringing money back to the program? So that's why the discussions have to be had with the schools about continuing to push students to certify, continuing to upskill them, continuing to make them ready to be able to take those examinations.
And just so everybody's on the same page as well too, is we're constantly communicating with all of our schools, with the whole team, to make sure that they understand exactly where they are in the process in regards to testing, what's needed for them to continue to stay successful, and to provide any help or services they need in order for the program to continue in a positive direction. So it's a total team effort. We're not leaving anybody on an island. We're constantly communicating, and we're constantly receiving feedback to make sure that we're getting all of our programs going in a positive direction.
Thank you for that. On slide 10, regarding the curriculum and safety, as we integrate AI across the technical cybersecurity and non-technical medical pathways, what guidelines or curriculum standards are being used to address ethical AI use, data privacy, and bias?
So as far as, as far as all of the education right now, it sits really with the teacher side with, we're doing the AI in terms of the professional development, right? We're trying to upskill the teachers so they can teach the students. And as far as usage, that's always, the appropriate usage of technology is always communicated throughout all of our schools, whether it's usage of the Chromebooks, and that none of that changes when it comes to AI. So the expectation is always there that they use it appropriately and within reason of what their class needs it for. So then it does come down to the teacher being educated on what is appropriate with AI and what are we allowed to do and not allowed to do. So with our IT department all the way down to the individual students, everyone has to be on the same page with what the expectations are.
And I would also share as well too, if you look at the Florida Department of Education, they have a framework in regards to AI and in regards to the workforce. And just as we talked about earlier, please think of AI as something that's running parallel with all of our career clusters, to where as things evolve, we have a very, very base foundation of what we're building off of. And as we have business leaders come in, they then share the best practices of what the AI is currently being used at that time, and we always make sure that it's school appropriate before sharing.
Okay. Ms. Fleming, you had a comment?
I'm not sorry.
Are you not done yet?
I got one more, but I got to piggyback off that AI. So that was something I mentioned. I think we should start offering AI in our schools, like elementary level. Because I think using it appropriately is going to be key to when they get to you guys or
Well,
to those.
I've had a great conversation, not to throw too many names out there, but Mr. Alton, as well as Mr. Way, we've talked extensively about this. And AI is, it's not a standalone option, it's not just in a box by itself. It's something that is incorporated in, today I got a coffee from Starbucks. Right there they had an AI on the order and, what did I want and all that kind of stuff. And so a lot of our elementary schools and some of the, just using Google itself, which we're a Google district, AI is incorporated in that as well too. So we are using AI, and a lot of times we don't even realize it, but we're using AI every single day.
Yeah, thank you. Slide 18, one more thing, and this is my last one. The behavioral health and allied health expansion at the 6 high schools and adding behavioral health programs, which I love, by the way, and adding the PT and OT and CNA. Our local healthcare partner, our local healthcare partners like Lee Health guaranteed to provide and the required placement sites for preceptors for these students.
So yeah, that's always a work in progress, and we're working on that as we speak here now. Dr. Lisa Wright and Jessica Osborne are working on developing those partners. And anytime you see an added board agenda item for some of these partners to be added to with our MOUs, that's what you're seeing. You're seeing those partners continually be added to that list of sites for students to go to.
And I would like to add too that in the past, we've restructured our CTE department just a little bit. We've modified it just a little bit to meet the need for the medical workforce. And so that's why Lisa Wright as well as Jessica have now joined us in the current roles that they have to ensure what you just asked occurs with all of our medical academy students, because we know that the need is there, and it's just working through the challenges that are before us.
Thank you. And I know, Mr. Matthews, you're working really hard. You're really out there making those relationships and partnerships. So I recognize that. This is kind of I want to say it's an overhaul of the CTE department, and just thank you for that. But thank you for your team for that. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Fleming.
Thank you for all of the hard work you guys are doing. I know that this is something that is really top of mind for the constituents of our community. These are conversations I have often. And, some people just don't even know that some of these things exist. So I know that you all are partnering with the communications team, making sure that this information is out there. I see it for myself, so thank you. One of the questions that I get asked the most is, are trade technology programs at all of our schools, and how do you determine which programs are at what schools? Like, I know the answer to this, but I would love for you to have an opportunity to tell the public how you go about choosing what programs go where and why that process takes place.
You covered that slide.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is is communication between the school district and the local entities, local business partners that we are feeding those students into. And so asking them about what skills they're looking for, what type of student are they wanting, what type of worker are they wanting. We need to start, we need to prepare them as best we can for that jump, per se. So as far as which schools, I mean, in terms of where, I mean, right now they exist where they exist, and a lot of it has a lot of equipment, very expensive equipment around it. So if I have a plumbing academy at one school, whether I need that to succeed there, and if it's not succeeding there, then we need to move it to a different school that it may succeed at. So it's one of those things where it's going to be determined by student body interest. It's going to be determined by the teacher that is in the classroom and their dedication to that goal, which most if not all of them have a great passion for the product and what they want to get out of the course. But it will always come down to the enrollment and interest that they have at the school level as well. So if for some reason an academy doesn't necessarily work out at a school, it doesn't mean we can't move it. It has a lot of moving parts to do that.
So then my second question would be is it fair to say that every zone, if you will, has an opportunity for trades in Lee County School District, just like we have, in all of our school district or in all of our zones, there's an IB program to choose from, or an ACE, depending on whatever it is your child wants to do. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Ms. Jordan.
Thank you for this presentation. This is just fabulous. I've always talked about CTE and pathways, so I just so appreciate this. Clarification on what you had said with the high schools. So if they have dual enrollment within the high schools, you said the students that are there first, the home students are there first. So does that mean that we open it up to other schools for those children to come in there?
Yes.
And if so, how do they get there to those schools? Is it, could you just
So-
shed a little bit light on that?
So I can, we recently, all three of us, have been meeting through teams with all of our high schools in regards to their, not only their CTE options, but also their advanced academic programs in regards to their CCA points and how to maximize that. And we have made sure to go through all the different opportunities that are available. So for example, at East Lee County High School, we have opened up automotive as well as welding to the students that are currently at that school. I believe we're limiting it to 20
to 25.
20 to 25. And if for, let's say, we have 5 openings, 10 openings, we're still in the stages of enrolling students. We then open it up to any students, let's say, from Lehigh Senior High School, Dunbar High School, Riverdale High School, any of our local schools that are interested in participating in that. The students have to provide their own transportation. This is only for senior students.
Right.
Okay, only senior students, not for juniors, not for sophomores or freshmen, only senior students. It's the first 4 periods of the day. So they would start the day, do their first 4 periods. It's all about attaining 600 hours in order for them to achieve their certification. And then they graduate not only with their high school diploma, but also with their industry certification from FMTC. And the same goes true with South Fort Myers High School, because we've spoken to Dr. Burnside. He's going to have some students that are going to want to go to East Lee, and he's going to have some students that are going to want to go to South Fort Myers High School. So it's really an awesome opportunity. This is something that we looked at best practices. Osceola County started this journey about 3 years ago, and they've had a tremendous growth with it and success. And so we want to copy what's working, and we see it as a great opportunity for our students.
Great, thank you. So it's under the, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no, I was just going to add, one thing to that, and that would be that, FMTC has wait lists for both of those programs constantly. So what this is also allowing to happen is some of those dual enrollment students can only take the high school courses. We can't have adults in the high school. So the only dual enrollment, only high school students will be at those locations. So it kind of frees up some space for FMTC to have more adult students because those dual enrollment students can go to South and or East.
Okay, thank you. And so they're under the technical school and not the high schools?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. And then, thank you. That's great. Okay, so then the other is, so then you have the training of the expansive, the training programs that you have with the adult education. So are those being done, where is that being done? Is that being done like at Edgewood? Is it being done at?
Here. So
Here?
we're doing some of them here, yes.
Okay, so they actually come here for?
Correct.
The
For some of the
training for
IET,
project
correct.
management,
Correct.
hands-on experience?
Correct.
Here at the district, okay. That's one answer. And then, and I noticed, and thank you, Ms. Giovanelli, because a lot of the questions, you already answered my questions, my questions with them. But, so in looking at this, in order for us to keep all these programs, we have to make sure that the certification is the ticket for these programs to
Yes.
stay existing.
Yes.
Because without the certifications, the money's not going to be there. It's not going to be funded. And these are expensive programs to
Yes.
to take care of, like you just
Correct.
mentioned with plumbing. And then with the, even in the budget, when I was looking at the budget with the workforce development, that has decreased for this coming up budget. So it's imperative for us to make sure that we are getting these CAP funds in order to continue these great programs that we have.
Correct. Some of that is connected, and some of it's more like the workforce development funds is more connected to the adult education side.
Okay.
But the CAPE funding, absolutely, that is essential. And it's something that we can control as a district as far as how much money comes into the district.
Okay, and then-
A grant is a one-time infusion of money that just helps start something, whereas the CAPE funds, the CAPE certification funds, is something that we can control in terms of trying to get more kids to pass, and actually our efforts will pay off in that way.
And I'd like to add just one other thing too, because I think this would really connect, because I know you're passionate about culinary. And if you look at the chef at East Lee County High School, that's why he runs so many opportunities for his students to cater different events. He's funding his program as well as building up a reservoir to expand what he's doing with that current program. And so we see that with all of our academies. They do different fundraising events to keep the momentum going with what they're doing, and success builds success.
And so the Safe Serve, that constitutes a certification?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that
That's,
did.
that's one certification. There's others as well too.
Oh, okay. And I just have one final thing. So the CAPE funding, when you said that, I know that Ms. Giovanelli said, well, are they misusing it? The answer was no. So, and I think that, I remember last year, at one of the schools, they didn't realize that they could use X amount of funding for the kitchen, X, whatever they needed. So how do you, how is that money divvied out to the different schools?
So it's collected, the budget department gets the money and then divvies it out, depending upon how many certifications that school had earned. So, and then a portion of that also goes to the district CTE department to support new programs, because you can't use CAPE funding on programs that didn't earn CAPE funding yet. So that's why the district will get a portion. My team and I will help start those new programs with the CAPE funds that we get. So all the CAPE funding is to go straight to students. I mean, that's the key for CAPE funding, is get to the schools, get to the students, obviously pay that teacher bonus as well, and really get it out to the schools. That's the key.
Thank you for this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Ms. Giovanelli?
Sorry, as you know, I've asked you about this before, so I have to say it again, because I've been talking about this probably for a very long time. So, lineman class, I'm still hung up on that, and I'll probably say that for a very long time. I think we need it in Lee County. I mean, God knows we've had enough hurricanes that we should have pretty good experience. If we could have them local homegrown, I would be so happy. And so I'm just gonna, you don't have to respond, because I know you've been working on it a little bit.
Well, I would just tell you that the return on investment in regards to what it would cost to actually do a lineman school to the actual number of, because we've looked into it, because it would be really positive from a news story to share something like that, but the return on investment really wasn't there. That's why we focused on the programs that we focused on, because we feel we can maximize our efforts with the maximum number of students doing those programs.
Thank you. And then I'm going to piggyback off of something Sam said here, Mr. Fisher said, my apologies, but we can have an elementary field trip for trip opportunities at the CTE, the two colleges. I think that would be a start for elementary.
You're reading our mind.
Okay, and it gives them opportunity, they can see that's out there for them. That's all I was thinking.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
it, thank you.
Ms. Shavano?
And I don't want to beat the CAPE funding thing, but I know CAPE's in arrears because it basically awards off the certifications prior, and I believe the funding is at 80% is what's required by the state. And you hit on the culinary events and what they do to continue to raise funds for their program, which I think is incredibly genius and smart and forward-thinking. I'm not sure what the other programs do, and I'm just thinking of like newer programs that come in because we have to infuse those programs because they don't have the funding. What those opportunities could be to help raise those funds when it's going to take a minute to bring them up and then to pass the certifications to get the funding that's needed to keep it going in the next years. So I guess I would like to see like what that looks like for the programs that we do have, that we know there is an interest, where there may be a delay in getting those pass rates, what we can do to offset, since we know again that it's in arrears and what that funding is.
One of the things that I think that we really need to mention as well too is we have a lot of great business partners as well too that fill the gap in regards to equipment, time, material, to make sure that our students are prepared and that they're successful as well too. And some of our CTE programs too, they do fundraisers just like you would see with athletics or an extracurricular activity a lot of times to fill that gap for whether it's field trips or whatever that they're looking for that particular year. But when it's actually talking about the actual program itself, we in CTE pretty much cover the cost and making sure that they're successful. Now, if there's add-ons that they want to do where they're taking a field trip or doing Skills USA, some type of special competition, then that's where we try to put 2 and 2 together and try to figure out a package for them to be able to do those events.
And some of the, I mean, there's other funding sources that we utilize as well. Perkins is one of them that we use to
Suncoast Schools.
Suncoast and their
FP&L.
Yep, a lot of different funding sources that we do utilize to help support those CTE programs. And like I said, ultimately, it's about getting every dollar down to the student level. So.
Yeah.
Okay, Ira, you had a comment?
Yep. When Chrissy Houlihan and I and Chief Newland went up to DC, because Department of Education's pretty much gone. So where did all those grants go and everything? And it turned out they went to the Department of Labor. And when we were talking to them, you can tell when you mention something that strikes a nerve, you shut up. Then you say something that really excites them. Well, what really excited them was when we mentioned that we have some middle school CTE programs. And you can just see the light go off, like, that's fantastic. You know, we were specifically saying that one time at the Alva School, we're going to have, a program going. We're going to build a middle school right next to it, and hopefully that'll feed into it. And they said, yeah, we have grants for things like that, to startup grants. Like you say, it's not reoccurring. So it's very good. But when we're in the Department of Labor, the guy whose light sort of lit up is now the Florida Commissioner of Education. So you've got someone there that's really in the ballpark, and one, not only for CTE, but also for trying to expand it into the middle schools, which is what I would love to see more, and I think we're all looking for something along those lines. But it is a matter of funding. I mean, it's simple as that.
If just to share, we were very diligent in looking at those 4 different grant opportunities. And the one that we were able to partner with, Matt and I actually called the economic department, what was it, EDA? Economic Department Agency. And so that grant had a connection with our response to the hurricanes and building up our workforce. And so this is something that we're looking at with John Roselle, the director of FMTC, as well as with the medical opportunities that we're looking with Lisa Wright. So in talking to them, they felt that that was the area that would have the highest return on investment and actually look in a way of actually getting it granted towards us.
Great. Yeah, we definitely want to reach out for every possible dollar we can get. I mean, that's a no-brainer. So we appreciate that. And like I say, I think you're going to have a very supportive person in the state now for your whole program. So whatever, don't be afraid to ask for a lot. When I went up to the state legislature, sometimes I said, why are you asking for so little? On a couple of things. Well, we can change that. And we did. And we got a little bit more. So just keep that in mind. Thanks.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, we had a great discussion, and I applaud you folks, the 3 panelists here. I'll remind you that they're a phone call and an email away for more conversations, more creative ideas. But I do want to applaud you folks on the great job you've had with the business community. I don't care where I go when I run into businesses and they find out I'm on the school board, we get a lot of kudos because they're really counting us to develop their next generation of employees. And I think you folks are doing a great job with that. Okay, moving right along. Next we have the Fine and Performing Arts, Athletics, and JROTC update presented by Ed Matthews, Clayton Simmons, Dr. Jason Tomoszewski, Adam Lewis, and Justin Budwood.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, Superintendent Dr. Carlin, as well as board members, I am very, very proud. I have three powerful gentlemen up here to share about athletic arts and ROTC. As again, my name is Ed Matthews, Associate Superintendent of Career Tech and Administration. To my right here, we have Director of Arts, Athletics, Activities, and Administration, Justin Budmeyer. To my left here, we have Assistant Director of Arts, Athletics, Activities, and Administration, Dr. Jason Tomaszewski. And then all the way to my left over here, we're very honored to have JROTC Manager of Military Programs, Colonel Adam Lewis. We have a great presentation for you. You're going to love this presentation. It has a lot of positive information, a lot of cool things that we offer here at the School District of Lee County that no one else offers, and this really separates us not only from all the exciting things that we do with career technical education and advanced programs, but what we're about to share with you with athletic, the arts, as well as ROTC. So with that, I will hand it over to Mr. Budmeyer.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Justin Budmeyer. I wanted to thank you, board members, Dr. Carlin, for having us here today. Very excited to have the opportunity to talk to you guys about how all of the arts and activities that we have going on in our district are enriching students' experience and also supporting the mission of the district, which is to make sure that every student achieves his or her highest potential. I'm going to get right into it today. On the left-hand column there, you'll see that we organize this as activity offerings. The activity offerings are broken down really into three different categories: the academic, civic, and special interest. And as I go through the list here, I'm going to touch on some of those to kind of highlight kind of some of the things that are going on within the schools that touch on those specific elements. So, for instance, if we start with the academic clubs, those are getting into your chemistry, history clubs, FBLA, those sorts of things that are offered within the schools. Our career and technical might be something similar to like a HOSA, the Health Occupational Students of America. FBLA could also sort of factor into that category as well. As well. Our fine arts, Dr. Tomaszewski is going to go into detail on our 6 fine arts offerings and how those programs are being rolled out, the things that are going on there, along with Colonel Lewis and his JROTC team. The leadership and service, a couple of examples of that may be an Impact Club, which is a Rotary affiliated club. Another example may be Best Buddies, which is an opportunity for our students to work with other students with disabilities, as well as they could just be something as simple as like a cross-stitch club or some of those specific student interest clubs. The STEM and innovation clubs, one of the most exciting opportunities I had as a school-based athletic director was working through the JROTC instructors and the robotics that's going on for the STEM and innovation. The robotics is something that is really growing in that avenue, and they've had a great deal of success with those offerings. So the slide to your right is really sort of the lens in which we view these things when they come across our plate. Are these opportunities offering leadership opportunities? Do they give students an opportunity to get a sense of belonging? And what is it that these are going to be doing to support that academic success? I'm going to move on to the next one where we're going to drill down a little bit more into the athletics offering specifically. Across the top, there are 3 sort of highlights of what's going on within the world of athletics. This past year, fiscal year 25-26, we had over 9,000 total high school athletes across competing in FHSAA sanctioned sports across our 15 high schools. Within the schools, we have 29 different sports offerings. I do want to clarify there are 19 separate sports, but when broken down and accounting for the gender of each, so for instance, boys and girls soccer, boys and girls, there are 29 different sports offered. Across the district, we experienced over 30 championships achieved. That came from the individual and or team, district, regional, or even state championship level. I know you guys have the opportunity to present awards to the state champions that come from our area. Moving on, what I did is broke down the year at a glance and kind of how the rhythm of the school year will go within an athletic or activities department. So to begin in July, here actually last Monday, July 27th, is what kicked off the start of the 26-27 school year. And the fall sports season is going to run through November. Depending on the success of some of our programs, you can be potentially playing football in the month of December, which we certainly hope for. And the fall sports that are offered in the schools are boys and girls bowling, boys and girls cross country, football, boys and girls golf, boys and girls swim and dive, and volleyball. So as the fall sports begin, before they even begin to wrap up, the winter sports season is getting ready to kick off. So it does illustrate some of the challenges that the schools are facing with multi-sport athletes and those kids wanting to participate. A lot of accommodation has to be made to sort of make sure that overlap can occur and that those students can do so in a safe fashion. So the winter sports will begin in about the third week of October, and they'll run through February. Really, the last thing of the winter sports is always the state wrestling tournament, in which we are always very well represented, and that's always the first weekend in March up in Lakeland. The sports that go on in the wintertime are boys and girls basketball, boys and girls competitive cheer, girls weightlifting, boys and girls soccer, boys and girls wrestling. So in the winter sports, you can see two of our newer offerings, which are girls wrestling. Girls were competing in the sport of wrestling, however, they were being asked to do so against males, and the FHSAA sanctioned girls wrestling as its own standalone sport, and we adapted that right as soon as it was sanctioned by the FHSAA. In addition to that was girls weightlifting. As we move into the spring, it sounds kind of funny to say we're in the spring when we're starting in the month of January, but that third week of January is when the spring sports will be starting to kick off. They're going to run through May. I know many of you had the opportunity to follow the Fort Myers High School baseball team a couple of years ago through the state baseball tournament, which was very exciting. The spring sports that are offered is baseball, beach volleyball, flag football, boys and girls lacrosse, softball, boys and girls tennis, boys and girls track and field, and boys weightlifting. The most recent addition to the spring sports is flag football. They'll be starting their fourth season of competition here this coming school year, and we've seen a tremendous growth in participation in that sport. You may also notice there is a little bit of unbalance in the sports season there. There are a lot more sports offered in the spring than either in the fall or the winter. So we are currently working with the FHSAA on a state level on balancing those out and kind of where one sport competes with another to help increase participation. So as we move on to kind of our strategic priorities and what we have as a snapshot looking ahead. As mentioned before, along with the strategic alignment for arts, athletics, and activities is that these are designed to prepare students for life after graduation. The development of leadership, teamwork, communication, resilience, and career-ready skills are oftentimes kind of, to use where the rubber meets the road. It's the application of the classroom oftentimes. So moving forward, we want to make sure that we are maintaining a safe environment and earning the trust of our community. Without that, it becomes very difficult. And making sure that we're in compliance with all of our safety standards, the wet bulb globe thermometer, that's a tongue twister there, in addition to things as rudimentary as the concussion return to play protocols and all those sorts of things in which our athletic trainers assist with. An emphasis is being placed on our community partnerships and ensuring that we're engaging with the community. This oftentimes, our athletics and activities serve as the front porch of our school district, and so that engagement with our community becomes very important. One of the goals that I'm hoping to sort of get is a bit of a paradigm shift here in ensuring that we have education-based athletics, and the difference between an education-based athletics approach and a for-play or a club or any of this sort of stuff, which all of our family members in our community have, is that education-based athletics is not just keeping the athletic achievement at the center of the experience, but it's developing the entire student and making sure that they're well-rounded and can achieve the things that we set out to do, which is getting them ready for life beyond high school. Lastly, some of the compliance issues that we will be working through as this year unfolds, having to do with a couple of the bills, House Bill 538 and Senate Bill 178. I'm sure you guys have probably had an opportunity to review some of those things. A quick snapshot, we don't have time to dig real deep into that today, but that's having to do with coaches' compensation, some guardrails put on transfers and the ability of our student athletes and what they can do throughout the course of a year. And as always, we want to make sure that we maintain the emphasis on sportsmanship across not just the Lee County area or the state of Florida, but across the nation. This is something that all of us within this area and this arena are starting to give a lot more attention to, and in making sure that those are the things that we are emphasizing. So as I close, I wanted to mention that arts, athletics, activities, these really are an extension of the classroom, and they're not just something that is an addition to, but they're really embedded with the district's overall mission of creating well-rounded students and those that are career-ready, college-ready, and give them those leadership opportunities that our community is looking for from our students. At this time, it gives me great pleasure to pass this along here to Dr. Jason Tomaszewski, who's going to talk about our fine arts.
Hello, thank you, Justin. For those who don't know, my name is Jason Tomaszewski, and I've been proud to have been the arts supervisor for the last 6 years. We offer 6 major arts disciplines in our district. That includes band, choir, orchestra, dance, theater, and visual art. So whenever we're talking about the arts, we're talking specifically about the classes that impact those 6 major disciplines. And if you can see on the board, we've seen an increase in the arts over the last 5 years. In the 2022 school year, we were still in and I think this is an important note, that we were in a block schedule for our middle and high school courses, which means students had more opportunity to take electives. We moved since then to a 7th period day, and arts numbers still went up, even though students had less time in their schedule to take an arts electives. That goes to show the great strength of the arts in our district, that not only did we lose the number of days that the kids had the opportunity to take the arts, they still are taking the arts. They're still enrolled in our major 6 arts disciplines. And that's not counting this year's numbers yet. As you know, master schedules are still being tweaked, and I didn't want to put that number in writing yet, but I anticipate all of these numbers going up with this year's master schedules coming in. One of the particular highlights is, as you can see, our orchestra programs being less than 1,000 kids throughout the district, K-12, now being well over 2,000 kids. And we're going to be slowly but surely adding more kids to that as well. And if we can go to the next slide, can you kind of talk about how we got there? When I took over a couple years ago, we spent a lot of time looking at what are some ways can we improve the arts. So we started with scheduling, and we noticed a lot of our students were taking exploratory arts classes. These are classes that may not have an impact over overall program growth. Exploring music, music theory, these courses that exploratory dance courses, theater classes that don't impact the program growth. They were half year, the students would take them for 1 semester and then never touch that art form ever again. We've since then shifted to making sure that our students are in these the full year courses that have impact on ensembles and on programs. So instead of taking exploring music, we made sure more kids were taking MJ Band 1 or MJ Chorus 1, so that the students are exploring arts in the proper way so that it can then lead to overall program growth. We then looked at some of our feeder systems and made sure that our high school and middle school directors were talking with each other so that they knew where their kids were coming from and how they can best support their kids coming into the high school programs. We also looked at the course progression to make sure that every course that takes, no matter if you transferred from one school to another, Band 1 meant Band 1, so that if they passed the Band 1 class at one school, when they went to another school, it was of equal weight. We then looked at some of the pipeline and support. What's not listed here is we have a great partnership with FGCU as a pipeline. Over 1/3 of our music ed staff comes from FGCU. With that type of partnership, we're able to offer the support knowing where these teachers and future educators are coming from, and then also be able to provide them the individual support that they need. You saw the orchestra numbers grow. One of the biggest impacts that is, one of the biggest areas of growth that we've seen is due to this elementary violin pilot program we started. We started with 12 elementary violin programs in 2022. We gave 25 violins out, we trained the teachers, we gave a supplement, and it just got these fifth graders excited about taking orchestra in the future, and we saw the orchestra numbers grow. We also individually tailor our instructional support for each program. We have some teachers teaching nothing but theater, some teachers teaching theater and dance. So we want to make sure that each school gets what they need, that each teacher gets what they need to have success in their own program. And then lastly, the biggest area of impact is our community partnerships. We've spent a long time developing relationships with all of the arts organizations in Lee County, whether it be the Alliance for the Arts, Art Fest Fort Myers, Gulf Coast Symphony, Sidney and Byrne Davis Art Center. We make sure that we are in the community creating partnerships and relationships with these organizations. And through that, we've developed events, programs, outreach support, and just visibility for our group, for our programs in the community that cannot be rivaled anywhere else. Speaking of those district-wide events, I wanted to give you kind of an outlook of what we do district-wide in a year. This is not to count any of the individual performances that are happening to the school, so you won't see Lexington's orchestra concert on here. But these are all of our district-wide events that our kids have opportunities to partake in throughout the year. And I'll give you a brief coverage of each of them. I won't read it all to you. But in September, we start off with our All-State auditions. We had over 50 kids make All-State last year, and I hope we're going to continue that trajectory and have more kids make it. There's over 10,000 students audition for this every year, and we always get a large amount of students in every year. Coming into October, we have really cool district events such as Designs and Dreams Gallery opening, and then Wicked Walk, which is our partnership with Sidney Byrne Davis Art Center. In November, we have our marching band finals, as well as the holiday greeting card contest. In December, we have the new Arts on the River event that happens at the Westin. We look to continue these types of events. In January begins our all-county and festival season. In February, we have more of our festivals with our partnership with Art Fest, the Edison Festival of Light. We have our MPA season starting to begin. As we go into March, we have our all-counties such as that represent each of those arts disciplines I talked about earlier. We have the biggest art event of the year in April, where we shut down 7 city blocks with the help of the River District Alliance. We have over 10,000 patrons downtown during our Lee County Art Walk. This year it's going to be the first Friday in April. I'll make sure to send you guys info on that. And then we start to slow things down in May and June with the High School Musical Theater Awards, as well as some of our summer program offerings. So what are we doing for the future? One of the things I want to continue to make sure all students have access to all 6 arts disciplines. Make sure that the programs are well established so that students K-12 can continue with studying each of these arts. I want to make sure that our curriculum aligns with district standards. You know, most of our programs start at the class level before they get to the program level, so we got to make sure that we have a curriculum that aligns with the expected teaching. We want to expand offerings. With the success of the elementary orchestra program, we might look to start piloting the same idea with band, dance, and theater, as all elementary schools have visual art and chorus already. We also look to maybe add some more technical visual art opportunities such as digital photography and audio production. We want to continue those community partners that we have already. We already have amazing partnerships, but I want to make sure we maintain them and then grow upon what we've already built. And then most importantly in my eyes is elevating the visibility of all of our programs. We have such great artists, we have such great creative students in this county. I want to continue to make sure that we have showcased their abilities to the community so the community realizes what we are. And ultimately, always my vision for the arts is to be the premier model for arts education in Florida. And with that, I'm turning this over to Colonel Adam Lewis.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having us here today. Colonel Lewis, I just took over for Colonel Scott Robinson about a month ago for District JRTC. Glad to be here. Thank you. I just have 3 slides to show today. The first one will be a snapshot of where we ended last year and some of our initiatives. The second slide will go into events and outlook for this year, and then finally goals for the future. On this first slide, top left corner there, you see we ended enrollment last year at 6,057 cadets. That tracks with our year-on-year numbers. The year before, we were 6,098. 300 of those cadets took advantage of our summer programs. We had 2 camps we offered last summer. One camp was up at Camp La Noche, a Boy Scout camp just north of Orlando, Florida. 200 cadets went up there for a week in June, lived in tents, practiced archery, went in the water, a bunch of outdoor type skills. Went very, very well. Another 100 cadets stayed local, went over to FSW and participated in our STEM and leadership camp. They focused this year on airfield operations. They went out to Page Field, learned about that. They built their own airframes and competed against each other for time. Both just well attended and great events. If you move to the center of the chart, $4.2 million is what JRTC brought from different funding streams last year. 3.6 of that is Army funding. A healthy piece of that, 2.8 million is instructor pay. We also, at the program level, the cadets raised $307,000 that went directly into cadet activities and cadet support. Title IV funds, we received $202,000. We also received $36,000 from local businesses and organizations that went directly into scholarships for our graduating cadet seniors for life after high school. And then we also secured $30,000 in Suncoast grants. Look at the top right of the slide, just some notes on community impact. The cadets last year performed 33,000 hours of community service. And also in the month of February with Lee County Cooperative Partnership, collected 28,000 pounds of food that went right into this community. Further on down on the right, some initiatives that we began working on last year that will carry over. One is the ASFAB Career Exploration program that we undertook. As you know, the ASFAB is that military aptitude test that young folks take to see if they qualify for the military, but it's really bigger than that. The ASFAB test has decades of government research where students can take the test and then get feedback on their talents, interests, and where their skills might match, and help them align those with a future plan. We offer that to sophomore cadets in the fall. They have 18 months to reflect and prepare, and they take the test again when they're juniors. If they score a 65 on that test, they earn a CCA point. We'll talk more about that later. Other initiatives we have ongoing, we have 7 instructors that are currently training now for Project Management Ready. We're trying to link the Project Management Ready certification process to the JRTC curriculum to offer a certification pathway for cadets. We also have 5 instructors that just began training in what's called Cyber Foundations. This is one of many Army curriculum JRTC rollouts that we'll see in the next future years. Not only do we have cyber, STEM will be coming, 3D printing, drones, and robotics on top of the teams that we offer in the co-curriculars. This will be actual classroom curriculum that offer these opportunities. It'll be a menu of options that principals and instructors can choose for their school where it best fits. And we're excited to bring those out, starting with cyber next year. Next slide, please. This is just an outlook of the year. Many of these events and activities you are familiar with. We begin in September, you see right away with competitions. Raiders takes off right away with our regional Raider meets and also our regional marksmanship meets. In October, Raiders really ramp up with district and national competitions. That's also the first time we offered that ASFAB test to our sophomore cadets. In November, we have our Leader Academic Bowl. We also have our Pathways to Service we host here at the district. that is a military pathway-focused opportunity for cadets in the district to come visit and interact with recruiters, ROTC, and also the service academies one night during the year. We have the Veterans Parade in Cape Coral, and also the District Veterans Recognition Ceremony, which takes place here in this building in the atrium. More competitions in December, JLab, robotics, and state raiders, and then after Christmas, we have our winter in-service training for our instructors, but we also have the National Essay Competition. So the cadets at every school write an essay. Last year's prompt was personal service. The best essays from that program then come forward to here at district. We grade them and send the very best forward to a regional and potentially national competition. The cadets in the programs write these essays every year. We've also got district and state marksmanship, and we also offer Army-funded college visits beginning in January for the cadets in each of the high schools. In February, the Army will come through for our accreditation review. That's a standard process we go through every year. There'll be 4 high schools as well as the district office will partake in that this year. We've got the Lee County Food Drive as mentioned, and then ongoing college visits, another parade with Festival of Lights, and our second ASFAB offering will begin for our juniors. In March, a lot more competitions, robotics, drill, and marksmanship. And then in April, we've got our JRTC ball that many of you are familiar with, our archery competition, state drill, and we'll also have the JRTC award ceremony and the military signing ceremony in the month of April. In May, we'll end our first pilot of certifications for Project Management Ready, and then in June, we have planned to have 2 camp offerings this year. We plan to go back to La Noche again for that adventure camp that I'd mentioned, and we also will have some slots in Jacksonville for a National Flight Academy this year for select cadets. The last slide just talks about the future. We think with these additional course offerings, the certification pathways that we're starting to put together, we should see a bump in enrollment. We'd like to see that go up to 7,500 next year. We project to start at 6,800 this year. That's a slight bump from 6,623 last year, so we've already seen some increase, but as we start to roll this stuff out, we should see some growth. Moving there to the center, you'll see some of the current initiatives that we're working on, partnered with 5 other counties' district JRTC programs. You see those counties that we're working with mentioned there in the center of the slide, but we already talked about one of our certification pathways, which is Project Management Ready. Right now, we're working with the state, as mentioned, to link that to our course curriculum. With that linkage, if we do have a cadet that passes the test and certifies, that will lead to CAPE funding down the road for those processes. The other certification program, it's a little bit more early days, but is the JRTC Employability Skills Program. This is another off-the-shelf certification program by a company called NOCT. This Employability Skills Certification Program very closely matches the JRTC curriculum. It's a better, more natural fit for us. The issue we face right now is it's not on the master credential list for the state of Florida. Other states have adopted, but not Florida yet. We've been meeting with the Florida DOE as recently as last week to start to get that off the ground, to get that approved on the master credential list, then linked to our curriculum. This, we think, will be the future for certification pathways for cadets in Lee County. We talked about the ASFAB earlier also, and we mentioned that for a cadet to earn a CCA point via the ASFAB, they need to have 2 years of JRTC and then score a 65. A 65 probably sounds like a very reasonable, easy score, but the data shows that that score is actually pretty stinking high. 10 to 15% of the cadets per school will actually achieve a 65 on the ASFAB. Most of those cadets have already realized a CCA point for themselves in some other way, be it dual enrollment or some other program. So we're working with the state now to not lower the score for lower the standard stake, but to make the score better match military qualification standards. Right now, if an applicant to the military scores a 50 on the ASFAB, they're considered to be a highly qualified candidate. That opens up all branches of service and all military jobs that are available to that applicant. If the applicant scores a 31 on the ASFAB, they're certified for the Army and several jobs that are available. So we're working with the state to right-size that so that it comes down and meets better aligns with military specs and is a true certification program. If the person is qualified, they should receive the credit. Moving over to the right, we mentioned before, we'll start our Cyber Foundations elective rollout, and then others, STEM, 3D printing, robotics, drones, to follow. At this point, I'll pass it off to Mr. Matthews for closing comments. Thank you very much.
All right, that concludes our presentation in regards to athletics, the arts, as well as JROTC. As you know, we're very, very proud of all of these opportunities. And as you can see, we're led by three very, very talented gentlemen that are not only experts in their field, but are out in the community working every day to make sure that we have those connections to create the best opportunities for our students as well as our schools. So with that, Superintendent, Dr. Carlin, if you have any comments, and I'll leave it open for discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews and team, for your wonderful presentation. Also welcome to Colonel Lewis. We're proud to have you on the team. I'm going to go ahead and forego my comments. I know the board is looking at a 5 o'clock budget meeting, so we'll look forward to your discussion and questions, give you the balance of the time. Thank you.
Okay, board comments? Something?
Awesome. Welcome, Mr. Buttmeyer. I think this is the first time you've presented to us, so thank you for being here. Thank you all for such a great explanation to three very important parts of our district and student learning. So I know we are short on time, so I will try to make my comments and questions really quick. Dr. Tomaszewski already answered one of mine, which was how did we get to where we were? And I love to hear about, yes, you tackled a challenge when it came to block scheduling, and it didn't matter because we've almost tripled, it seems like, our arts department, which is a very important part of student learning, and talk about belonging, you know, in all three of you, what you offer, so, or the programs you stand for. So, if we go to our athletic page, just a couple of questions. Let's see. We have, I just have a really quick question, and I think I know the answer. But when we're talking about middle school sports, and I know that we are rolling, you know, it's very important to build that foundation, and the stronger our middle school sports and the stronger our middle school arts programs are, the stronger our high school sports and the stronger our high school arts are going to be. So just a quick, if you could give just a quick insight, what are we doing when it comes to middle school sports? What are we going to be doing differently to build those programs? Because I think we already heard about what we're doing in the middle school arts departments.
Yeah, the middle school athletics continues in an intramural format. And the same thing is true at that level to a certain extent. With that FHSAA sanctioning and keeping them intramural, it actually works to increase or broaden the scope of students that could participate. I know there had been some discussion about alignment of the seasons, the sports seasons, and right now, at least as of today, I would say that the difficulty with that is with the officials. It also resides in transportation, and it also potentially could be impacted by oftentimes middle school teachers were the coaches of the high school team.
Okay.
But as those continue to evolve, our officials, now I'm actually part of the FHSAA officials pay task force. As we've increased pay, the hope is to increase the amount of officials. I know we're still dealing with some shortages across the board for all of our sports, but I do know those individuals are working really hard to fill those gaps. And at that time, it would be something that we could certainly look at in terms of alignment of the sports offerings with the middle school level to the high school level and beyond, because the high school is already aligned with, for the most part, the state of Florida is one state that plays the sport of soccer in the winter as opposed to being in the fall. And so, you know, even at the high school level, there's some misalignment with the NCAA.
Okay, thank you. The reason I asked that is because our volleyball and basketball programs at the middle school level are not aligned with our high school programs. So, many of our kids play club ball outside of the high school or outside of their middle school teams, and those when that club or travel ball or whatever it is taking place, it's happening in the same time as the school. So students are starting to have to choose, and that takes away, student athletes, they're having to choose between the travel and the club, and we want them to stay here. So that's the reason why I just wanted to clarify to the board why I asked that question. I know we already have a heavy spring, but I will say one more time, because Mr. Buttmeyer, you haven't been up here since I've brought this to the board for 4 years, is I know it's heavy and I understand Title IX and all of that, but I really think that it's time that Lee County School District adds boys volleyball, because we have it in the middle school, but we don't have it in the high school. And, there are clubs popping up now that it's partaking, travel ball or whatnot, which don't have anything to do with the district, but it'd be great to have that opportunity, even if it has to become a club, something after school, and it's not necessarily a sanctioned sport yet here in Lee County, but it is in the state of Florida. So, and then last but not least, I do applaud multi-sport athletes, so I know the struggle of, the sports blending and crisscrossing, so we can talk about that more later. But another question I have, and this involves our athletics and our arts. I would like an update on how we go about ordering our equipment and our uniforms for our high schools, both like marching band and for, let's say, football. Okay, so just because they take place at the same time. So do we ever put out like an RFQ for one big quote, and then we all order, like do all the schools order from the same vendor? Or do we give autonomy to each school to be able to order from, let's say an organization like BSN versus Under Armour or whatever? Because I feel like that's somewhere we could save some money if we had, if we could streamline that, because that's a lot of equipment. I mean, a marching band, I can't imagine what that costs at this point anymore, but so I hope I'm making sense, but it would be nice to know, how do we go about that process? And is that something that we can look at to be able to look at saving money for equipment?
Ms. Fleming, I'd be happy to, through the chair, we could certainly look at that, and we'll inquire offline with the gentleman. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Awesome presentation. Thanks for all you all do.
Okay, Ms. Jordan.
Thank you. Welcome to Mr. Budmeyer and Colonel Lewis. Thank you for being here as well. My question is, and Dr. T, you're everywhere. I just think you are like, you're Fort Myers, you're Lee County, you're just everywhere representing our schools, representing our children. I appreciate you. But my question is with the art programs, because I'm still hearing a lot of situations where the schools are not being funded fully for their arts programs, so they're trying to figure out how do they, put these kids in those programs, and how are they they're able to choose those classes, in order to get drama, theater, or art, whatever that looks like for them, because there's just not enough in there. We can talk afterwards, because I know we have short times, but I just really want to speak on this.
I think we can give you a short answer real quick. We don't need to go into detail, but
we haven't cut any programs. I need that, I know that was been split on social media may say. We've actually added 5 arts teachers this year that didn't exist last year. We have a second music teacher at Lexington this year. We have a second dance theater teacher at Lehigh Senior, and it's not just in one zone, it's across the board. So that, that we are adding arts programs. And it's driven by with arts and athletics, and it's driven by student choice, and we are working with our teachers to be a better attractor of their programs. That's why the feeder systems I mentioned were really important, and we're making sure that we're starting them in middle school so that the programs are giant by the time that they get to high school. Those are all things that we're constantly working on and again, with some success. We've grown our dance programs in the East Zone enough that Lehigh Senior has over 200 kids taking dance, and that's where some of the impact you're seeing is when we're starting with those middle schools.
And I would like to add as well too, we offer programs in Lee County that are not offered in our neighboring districts. Districts that have very high socioeconomics, we offer all of these arts programs, and they do not offer those programs. So in reality, I feel like Jason and his team have really gone above and beyond to create these opportunities. I think when sometimes people are stating this isn't happening or that isn't happening, I don't believe that they're fully informed.
Well, just for instance, real quick, the fine arts, like the enrollment that you have listed here, how does a parent, when they're getting their child's schedule, but yet they want to be in orchestra or chorus or whatever, now they're in ceramics. So their number's not on here because that's not offered or open to them. That was a class that was given to them. I know two people this far that are in high school and they were just given a class, not anything.
If that happens, they can work with the APCs at each of the schools. I know creating a master schedule is not something I envy anybody's job in the world. And I know sometimes things like that do happen because or classes get capped. I know some of our high schools, their orchestra programs, they cannot fit another student into the class, which is a good problem to have. That makes us look at, well, what programs we can go on a needs-by-need basis of where are our programs that might need a second or third music teacher in the future,
Okay. And then my last and final thing is, thank you, and I will let them know that. So my last and final question is, someone had spoke to me because it was mentioned up here about doing something like afterwards, a club or whatever, so that would require like a supplement, and I don't even think we've spoken about that, and maybe that's something that, through the chair, decide to superintendent, maybe we can visit that one time.
Share a little more detail on that.
Okay.
Can I ask for clarification?
Hold on. Can I interject, please? Thank you. Before we get into supplements, that's a collective bargaining item, and they're still bargaining. And I understand there's some changes coming, but I'd rather not have that discussion if it's going to get into the amounts and who gets what, because that's left to our collective bargaining team.
I was not asking for that.
Okay.
I was just saying, if we could sometime down the line have a discussion on that. That's all I was asking. Thank you.
Can I ask a clarifying question? What is the specific ask? And then I just want to make sure that this is coming from the board. So what is the specific ask?
The supplement, if a teacher or whomever was doing an outside club after school.
Yes.
Do they receive a supplement? And have we ever really looked at that?
Yes, supplements have been in place for many, many, many years. I think if you want a list of the supplements, we can certainly provide that for you. Be happy to do that for you. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Giovanelli, you have a comment?
I just want to say thank you for this. We know that student enrichment is it ends with student success, right? So, and athletes and arts and JRTC, I think you might bring the most money here. Because it's amazing what you do and how the students, when they graduate, the opportunities they have in their leadership and job opportunities and where they go. We get to hear that every week every meeting when they present the cadet that comes and does and presents the flag and we do the Pledge of Allegiance. And I think it's just a small example of really what you're doing, just a tiny bit out there. And thank you for bringing up the fact that we didn't lose arts. And I know when we were changing from block schedule, the community was very upset over that, saying that was going to affect our arts program, when in fact, your point is it didn't. So I think that's really key and important to let the community know that it was in safe hands. So thank you.
Okay, moving right along and seeing no other comments from the board, we'll wrap this up as we have a pretty tight schedule coming on here. Mr. Budmeyer, welcome aboard. I really appreciate hearing from you today. And I want to validate the comment about the arts. I can assure you that the Bonita Springs Middle School Arts Program is growing leaps and bounds. I was just down there a couple of weeks ago, and Principal Baxter was taking me, actually she had an art display in the gymnasium that day, and was really quite impressed with all the local folks that came to support the local businesses. So you folks are just doing a great job in that particular school with that program. And then, of course, Colonel Lewis, I'm really looking forward to working with you. You've done some great things over the years. I always look forward to the ball each and every year, so welcome on board. And then moving right along, we're going into public comment. Mr. Doty, would you lead the charge on that, please?
There are no participants in public comment this afternoon.
Okay, now we will, for the good of the order, we'll call on our colleagues. Mr. Fisher, do you have any comments?
No, holding them to tonight, sir.
Ms. Giovanelli?
I'll hold mine tonight, but since the conversation came up regarding supplements, I am not bringing up my conversation regarding it, but, and Mr. Dodig addressed it just now, so that's what I was going to have happen, so it's happened, and I'll move on. Thank you.
Okay, and I'm going to hold my comments for tonight, although I usually report on our committee assignments, which is ITF, but I do have something positive to say to the group tonight, which I think the public will enjoy hearing, so I'll wait till later. Ms. Jordan?
I have nothing right now, thank you.
Mr. Persons?
Nothing.
Ms. Fleming?
No, thank you.
And Ms. Shaviano?
I reserve for tonight, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, moving right along. Mr. Doty, do you have any comments?
I do not.
Superintendent?
I will provide my comments this evening, thank you.
Okay, thank you. This evening we'll hold a school board special meeting for 2026-27 tentative budget at 5:05, followed by the school board action meeting at 6 o'clock. At this point, having no other business to come before this body, and seeing no objection, this meeting is adjourned, and the time now is 4:28. Thank you very much.